4, 3, 2.
All right, good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call together the January 8th, 2026 school committee meeting. If you would please rise and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this evening we have our consent agenda, or we have a consent agenda listed, which are the minutes from December 12th, 2025, as well as bills of payroll. Folks have a chance to review the minutes from December 11th. Yes. Do they have questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? So moved. Made by Sean.
Second.
Seconded by Janine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So our first opportunity for interested citizens, the second opportunity at towards the back half of the meeting. So if there's anybody with us in person or hybrid model that would like to speak before the school committee, now's your first chance.
There's nobody online.
Right. We have actually a lot of cool things to talk about tonight. So hearing none, seeing none, we'll close interested citizens and we'll move to recognition. So we've got Sid Padamati, who's with us this evening, who'll give the student representative report.
All right, we'll start off with Shaker Lane on Monday. Shaker Lane will host their popular Shaky story time for students. This virtual event began during time around COVID and will still be one of the most requested events where staff read stories to students. And they'd like to thank the PTA for funding hot cocoa and coloring pages for the event. And then following that, on Tuesday, Shaker Lane will host their pre-K information night. The virtual presentation will begin at 6 p.m. and the meeting link can be found on the district's website on Tuesday the 13th at 6 p.m. Moving on to Russell Street, students are beginning to wrap up their second Wit and Wisdom module. Students have done a great job exploring space, extreme settings, and wordplay. And since the beginning of the year, students have solved almost 2 million facts on Reflex to help them master their math facts. And they have earned 3 green lights per week and entered a weekly raffle. Russell Street students also look forward to welcoming the middle school to perform a few numbers from Shrek the Musical tomorrow afternoon. And regarding the high school, the LHS Spring Musical has been cast and rehearsal is ongoing. On January 10th, the Seal of Biliteracy test will be held where students will take a 3-hour exam to earn their Seal of Biliteracy for respective languages. On January 12th, the Character Strong activity will happen during advisory/flex. And on January 14th, early release will be there for students and staff will have a professional development day. And on January 19th, there'll be no school for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And then lastly, for January 26th to the 30th, there'll be the Great Kindness Challenge week held at Wilton High School. And then for January 23rd, term 2 will come to a close and they'll start the 2B challenge and Character Strong that following week.
Perfect. Great, thank you so much. Thank you. Did I overhear that you were accepted?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
A little recognition back to you.
Yeah.
So excellent job. Superintendent Clinch, do you have anything else to add?
A couple of things, yeah. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you had time to rest, relax over the holiday break and spend some time with your family and friends. Welcome to 2026. Going to be a great year, a great finish to this year as well. Some exciting news. Dr. Arrington, Principal Everhart, myself will be traveling to the State House on January 20th to celebrate our middle school Blue Ribbon recognition and the high school School of Recognition. So there are 6 Blue Ribbon schools that are going to be celebrated that day and 55 schools of recognition. So we're excited and you know, when I was thinking about this, we have 3 schools that are eligible for these recognitions, and 2 of them are going to be awarded a recognition. That's pretty special, and a real testament to us as a district and community. You don't get these recognitions very easy. It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of commitment, and a lot of professional development, and making sure we do everything we can to meet the needs of every student in our district. So congratulations to those 2 schools, and looking forward to spending some time at the State House. So congratulations, John. I know you're.
This is that.
Yeah. Everybody, great job. All right,
That's it.
we have one presentation scheduled for this evening. So this is an instructional technology update. I would invite Julie Lord, Natalie Curto, Heidi McGregor to give a presentation on the utilization of technology for students and staff pre-K through 12 within the district. So welcome. Always nice to have you join us.
Thank you very much. Hi, for anyone who did not see me in a little while, I'm Natalie Frodo. I'm Tech Systems Coordinator along with Julie Lord and Heidi McGregor. So I'm thrilled to be part of this amazing conversation to talk about where we're going and where we're moving forward to. So instructional tech highlights for 2026. I'm going to have you go to the next slide, Steve. This is fun. We haven't done this in a while, Steve. So our team overview and our mission is we're committed to empowering future-ready learners, supporting tech integration and innovation initiatives. So our tech team is committed to partnering with teachers and students to provide exceptional ed tech support, ensuring technology enhancing teaching and learning and maximizing classroom engagement. We have a small but mighty team of 5. Dan Beck and Stefan Buccieri are our tech specialists. Cody Fontaines, our IT systems specialist. And I work with the wonderful Julie Lord. We've been working together since 2012. Next slide, Steve. Oh, take it over.
All right, I'm Heidi McGregor, STEM integration specialist. And I guess I'm not officially on the tech team, but I'm very
We work very similar.
You're in. Yeah, right. So our STEM program is all about engaging students. We work on the 4 C's at all times, which is creativity, critical thinking, communication, and collaboration. In our 2 maker spaces, one is Shakey's Imagitorium, and one is Think Tank. And then we kind of our goal is to just empower our students to become confident creators rather than consumers of content and technology in particular. A lot of good stuff. Okay. Next slide, please. Yeah. So what I did was I put together sort of like the story of our threads throughout the years. So I have these themes that we carry out from starting in kindergarten that goes through grade 5. So that top row where it says engineering and building kind of tells you the story about how students are going to have opportunities for hands-on engineering and building every year that they're in elementary school. So in kindergarten, we start with novel engineering, where this is part of our social emotional learning special, where we talk about empathy, where the students read a book. We read a book, it's called Hot Dog. It's got a dog who's very and the students have empathy for this dog, and they use the engineering design process to build something, design and build something to help this dog have a better life. So that's kind of their first official engineering design process experience. Then we build on it later in kindergarten, where we do our 3 little pigs. They have to build houses out of paper and wood in my wind tunnel / Big Bad Wolf tries to blow them down. And then they build on it some more in 2nd grade, where we do a cardboard community day, where the students actually build pretty large buildings that we set up. I know some of you have come to see it over the years. We take over the playground with it's a social studies project. And then in 3rd grade, they build physical musical instruments that we connect through coding to their Chromebooks so that they can actually play electronic music with their physical musical instruments. That's coming up soon, actually. 3rd grade is starting that in about 3 weeks. So paper towel tubes and cereal boxes, please. And then all of our students take part of our STEM challenge, which happens in the spring of every year. So kindergarten through grade 5, actually all the way through high school at this point, but they all get to do the engineering design process then. So that's kind of the story, the thread of how they start with engineering, and it follows them all the way through elementary school. Then another thread we have is digital fabrication that starts in first grade where they learn about laser cutting. And they design buildings that we laser cut, and they have all these experiences with those to and enforce their social studies learning about communities. And then in second grade, they design, for the first time, they use a program called Tinkercad where they actually create a digital design that we laser cut. We call them geometry windows, where they design their own custom windows. And you can see in the picture there where they have little flashlights. We turn off all the lights and we use flashlights to see geometry all over the room. But that's part of our digital fabrication thread. And then in third grade, we upgrade to 3D printing, and the students design their first object for 3D printing, which is a name tag. And then in fourth grade, more engineering design. These threads kind of intersect, as you can tell. So more engineering design where they learn how to do a digital fabrication of their own custom bubble wand, which we 3D print and we test them. And then in fifth grade is the hardest and most complicated, and they kind of get into it where they get to design their own zoo animal, and it has to be made from only rectangular prisms. It's part of our math curriculum. And then we 3D print these little creatures. That is the cutest little crab I ever saw with the googly eyes on it. And they have to calculate the volume, the composite volume of it. But that's all part of our digital fabrication. And in this slide, I had a hard time teasing apart coding and digital storytelling, so I just put it all together. But in grade 1, the students start with coding by using these Sphero Indie robots that are coded with color bats. It's very hands-on. There's no screens. It's a very age-appropriate way for them to get started with coding. And then later on in grade, we're actually starting this in 2 weeks also. The students start to learn how to use Scratch Junior, which is a basic form of coding, and we use it to retell the story of the mitten by Jan Brett. Pigs go in those mittens, butterflies go in those mittens. There's a polar bear that sometimes goes in the mitten. You never know. You never know. And then in second grade, we build on that coding for digital storytelling by it's a part of our SEL special where they have to code a dialogue between two characters who are trying to solve a problem that's happening at school. So it could be a problem like, will you play with me at recess? I don't want to play with you at recess. Why not? And then they have to work it out. And they use this as like a social story that we also have coding. Then in third grade, the Making Music project that I told you about, we use Scratch. And then in grade 3, the students do a different kind of digital storytelling. It's not a coding based one, but we do stop motion animation for the first time. Play-Doh connects to our science curriculum where we do life cycle of a seed. It's a lot of fun. It's a great project. And then in fourth grade, more Scratch, where they get to do choose your own adventure stories. So every time we do coding together, I remind them of the coding projects we've done in the past, and then I teach them one new thing. So for choose your own adventure stories, I teach them about conditionals and how to make an interactive story so that the reader can actually decide which ending is going to play, and the kids learn how to do that. So that's a step up from what they did in second grade and in fifth. Then in fourth grade, they code Root Robots, which is a similar style of coding to Scratch. It's a block-based coding where they take their robots on a road trip as part of their social studies curriculum. And then fifth grade, we bring Scratch back again, where they code math word problems that has error checking. So we build on the fourth grade experience by adding in this mathematical component. And then we also have a figurative language with robots activity that they do where they pick an idiom. The fifth graders pick an idiom, and then they have to code a robot to act in the way that the idiom might mean. Like, for example, I'm not sure which one. I think that one might be sneaky as a fox or sly as a fox. So they make a costume for the robot, and then they have it move around. So it seems like kind of sly. There's a whole bunch of idioms that I choose from. And then the last one that I have on there is that fifth grade, Reason why I put a question mark there is because we just started it this week. So we're still sussing it out and trying to figure it all out, but it has to do with our new written wisdom curriculum. The fifth graders read a book called The Phantom Tollbooth. And in this book, there's a place called the Town of Abandon where it's a very sad place and the kids kind of get into it. So they have 3 choices of how they can create an environment for their town of abandoned character. So they can choose between Scratch, Tinkercad, and stop motion animation. And we started it this week and the kids are amazing. It's just so much fun to be able to pull back things that they've done over the years. And now they just can run with it. They choose which one they want. They're making it their own. And they're teaming up with each other and helping each other. It's been really, really exciting to watch them tackle this project. Very, very creative. Which leads into what we're going to talk to you about.
Yeah. So I have one of Julie Lord. So yes, that leads right into our next conversation. And first off, I'm very grateful to have Heidi here this evening. It's so wonderful to see not only how we're building on those digital literacy skills, but how it's truly integrated. And I think, that was something that we were very mindful of in this district, making sure that technology is truly integrated. And that's how our students are getting an opportunity to kind of build on those digital literacy skills. So with building on what the opportunities and the knowledge that they've kind of built around those skills, we're very excited this year to be working on a redesign project at the middle school. So we have a generous grant from Littleton Electric and super support from middle school administration. So we're taking the existing school library and some of the resources that we have there, and we're sort of repurposing and redesigning the space. So the idea is to really create a dynamic, collaborative learning environment focused on student agency and exploration. So the idea being we really wanted to create this space where students could leverage the skills and experiences that they've had in the middle at the Russell Street and actually Shaker Lane elementary level, and be able to kind of use the space in the library for whatever purpose that they felt, whether it was in line with a specific project or if it was something that they wanted just to kind of maybe deep dive into some sort of area where they're more interested. So so the most exciting part of this was that we surveyed our students at the middle school, and the feedback from the students was amazing. And I wish I could give it to you all because some of their ideas that they come up with are just beautiful and amazing. But pretty much what we came up with was there was 3 basic concepts that the students really felt strongly about. And that was, so they really wanted, and this is a combination of their comments, but very much from their own voices. So they really wanted a cozy space. So they wanted students overwhelmingly describe their ideal learning environment as calming, stress-free, and cozy. They're asking for a 3rd space, neither a rigid classroom nor a silent library that mimics a coffee shop or lounge. I thought that was really cute. They explicitly requested flexible seating, bean bags, couches, warmer lighting to help them self-regulate and focus. So this is a summary of their responses, but I thought that was really, so that was one big chunk was really, they wanted this like kind of cool, comfortable, calm place that they would be able to grab some books, read, kind of just relax, enjoy the space. So with that kind of in mind, so one space that we have designed, and we've already actually physically moved the physical books, the physical resources to that one section will be the quiet zone. So that'll be nestled within the book collection. The comfortable space fosters a love of reading, focus, and self-regulation. So that's sort of going to be the space where we're really kind of drive that feel. Another common theme was the tools that they talked about was a lot of high tech, but also a lot of cardboard. So there's a distinct split in desired resources, and the students want access to both ends of the spectrum. So massive demand for 3D printers, green screens, real coding. I'm not sure what they mean by that, but we'll dive in. Oh, moving beyond scratch or moving on beyond the scratch. So kind of you're moving beyond your block coding to more text-based coding. And then surprisingly, high demand for cardboard, duct tape. Students want prototypes and build with their hands just as much as they want to use computers. So what I love about this too is I feel like they really are taking those moments of exploring and learning from their elementary experiences, and they're envisioning what that could look like in the middle school. So, and then just one more, because they do bring up some of their other experiences. So, and students expressed a desire to move away from spreadsheets and sitting. They referenced the elementary think tank as a gold standard and wanted a leveled up version where they have the agency to choose the right tool, whether it's tape, coding, or whatever they needed to solve the problem. So the space, so we took that information, we kind of redesigned. So we're going to have the quiet zone. We're going to have the large middle section is going to be more of a collaboration presentation hub. So we can kind of really set it up kind of like stadium seating. So students will have an opportunity to kind of share their learning. And then we'll have another section that's going to be the creation kind of exploration side, where we have a 3D printer coming in. We'll have a new device that will allow them to do stop motion sort of on their own there. We already have green screen up and running. We already have bits and pieces that we're kind of incorporating too, but really excited. The idea there is just like Heidi was saying, you know, we're always kind of trying to level up, give them a little more opportunity to explore on their own, or to kind of you know, perfect or work with the skills that they've already had, that they've already developed. So we're hoping this will be more that the students would have the ability to individually kind of access this technology in this space. So that's sort of what we're creating. So really excited about that. Grant just went through, we just started buying things. So hoping that will kind of come together in the spring, and then the summer will really kind of get the whole space up and going. So really excited about that. The TLC, we're renamed it the Technology and Learning Center. So that's really exciting news. And I think it's going to be such a nice fit for, you know, just to kind of balance off the experience that they've had for the other years. All right, Steve, next one. All right. And of course, this has been for the past, now I feel like this is 3 years of being sort of a hot topic in education, and something that we continue to have a conversation in our district at all different types of levels. You know, the sort of the philosophy that we've taken, you know, we've recognized that AI is shaping the landscape of education and the workforce. So we have been taking a very thoughtful, open-minded approach to the evolution of AI in our schools. Very collaboratively having these conversations. So we view this technology with open minds and critical thinking through ongoing dialogue with students, staff, and administration. We are working to responsibly leverage these tools to enhance learning and ensure our students' long-term success. I am really happy with the way that we have kind of had started these conversations at the appropriate time. We've kept a very open mind, open dialogue, and had a lot of people at the table for these conversations moving forward. We still have a lot of pieces of the pie to pull together, but I'm feeling really good about where we are. Where we are right now, there's a couple of different initiatives that we have going on. I feel like we have offered a lot of professional development opportunities within our district, opportunities that either exist online for our educators. We have we surveyed our students at the high school last month, and based on actually our students and our staff, and based on the results of those, we're going to be having some roundtable discussions that will start next year that are a balance of students and educators to kind of talk about sort of different perspectives involving AI in education, and sort of where we are, where we're going, and how we can kind of move forward and start to put some of those pieces of the pie together. We do have a set of guidelines. These have been evolving for the past 3 years. We will most likely revise these guidelines again based on kind of information that comes out of these roundtable discussions and how we're moving forward. Again, professional development opportunities for our educators to either learn about AI literacy or have an opportunity to see how those specific tools they can actually leverage their tools in their own professional work load. We've had student-led pilots. We've had students at the high school opportunities to use generative AI, like large language models, generative AI, and kind of see what that's going to look like in the hands of students, and then give that feedback back to our educators. And then we also have a group of students who are working on putting together an initiative for the community to understand the truths regarding environmental impact of generative AI. That was a big topic that came out through the survey. And again, what we kind of realized is that no one really has, most of the community does not have a lot of the right information, or doesn't have any of the information. So it's something that the students felt was really important for them to supply some sort of resource. Yeah, I mean, the AI thing is a big thing. We're evolving on that one. And I think that conversation is probably going to continue going forward, probably for the foreseeable future. All right, we have a couple of quick community reminders. See if we can go right to the next one. This is just so that we wanted to kind of make sure everyone's on the same page. We implemented school status. I think this is going into our 3rd year now. So just so everyone's aware, this is the application platform that we use as a district to keep the community informed. So more information, if you're not aware of this platform, can be found at littletonps.org under the community tab. Online Safety Hub, again, a great resource that we are in partnership with Linewise, who provides our content filtering. This is a great resource for families and educators, just kind of helping provide digital safety to our students. It's packed with so many different resources about different apps and sort of what we should be aware of as adults when we're trying to safeguard our children. And again, is available on Littleton PS under the community tab. Tech help for seniors. We have a group of high school students, Tiger Tech, who offers technical support for our senior citizens through the COA. So if anyone is interested in that, you can reach out to the COA to sign up. It's the 2nd Thursday of every month. So we just finished the session this afternoon. And then one other thing just to keep in mind, our STEM challenge, which is going to be our we've been doing this now for a couple of years, so we'll have to gotta remember how many years that is. But yeah, so really excited about this. So our district-wide STEM challenge, this is district-wide K-12, K-8 participate in some capacity, and our high school students are often, a handful of them are helping out as mentors to kind of help our younger learners navigate using the engineering design process to solve a problem. So the theme is always unveiled at the last moment, so we can build a little hype. So just keep your eyes open for that one. So that is what we've got tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Questions or comments or feedback from the committee members?
I learned so much. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, I always have. I always love talking with the three of you, but your presentation is so effective tonight because it really, each part fed into the one that followed it. So while Heidi was presenting, I was so struck by the way the skills spiral up through the grade levels and the beautiful job that you're doing integrating it with the curriculum so that it doesn't come off as a one more thing, but it's really an important integral part of what students are learning, and keeping in mind those digital literacy, computer science, another framework that teachers have to be aware of. So what an exciting and beautiful way to do it. So, and the whole time you were presenting, I was like, well, this is so great. They're learning so much, but then what? And then Julie, you get up and tell us about the then what. And it's amazing that kids are saying to you, we're so ready to move beyond scratch and block coding. Like, what a problem to have.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows how effective you're being with the comfort level that kids have with just incorporating that into their learning. So super excited about the plans for the TLC. Also really glad that the books are still going to be there and that the library is still being honored and so it's sort of an area of choice where kids can go and get what they need. And also I'm really appreciative of what you're doing with AI because I think we are way past the point where we're like, AI is scary, stay away from it. And kids need to know how to use it. This is going to be part of their lives. It's part of teachers' lives too. And, I think we've already seen ways that teachers can use it to take some of the load off of their preparation and their lesson planning so that they have more capacity and time to spend with students because that's really, I think that's the most important part of teaching is the face-to-face time. So, any technological tool that can be used to do some of the groundwork, even modifying curriculum for students with disabilities. There's so many things. So I'm really grateful that you're embracing that and that you're involving students in the feedback of what they want. It's so impressive. I'm really appreciative that the three of you came tonight and tell us all this.
I'm really hoping that the same way we handled, the integration of technology right now, it seems that, yeah, of course, that's how we do things. But, years ago, 10 years ago, it was like technology was like a separate thing. And no, we were gonna integrate it. And we stood by that. And that's what we're seeing, right? So I'm hoping the intention will be that AI will follow in the same path, right? Like these big tools are going to be tools that are integrated. The literacy understanding it is going to be in the same capacity that we handle technology, right? So again, but it's not a path that we don't have to be there tomorrow. I think we're doing it in a very thoughtful, meaningful process. So,
and also teaching kids to be critical thinkers when using AI, because a lot of times you get garbagey stuff. So you have to be able to look at the product that was created for you and be like, wow, that doesn't make sense. That's not, or check the reference. Sometimes AI gives you the reference it was using. So check that. Was that a valid source?
Yeah,
so
we did.
all those
Heidi did this
skills.
year for Hour of Code, which it's still got a lot of integrity K to 5, right? It's still, even though we're doing a lot of coding anyway, kind of transition to Hour of AI this year. So students were able to kind of explore. And again, a lot of that too, we're just kind of understanding that, it's not always accurate. It's not always perfect. And you got to really understand how to manipulate the tool in order to get the end result that you want. So it was a really good, opportunity. And we'll continue with that, I think, again, as we go forward, making sure that we're integrating those lessons into our regular digital citizenship program. And so
Exciting times.
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So.
I'll just echo what Elaine said real quick, just a lot of appreciation and really heard the integration of technology in the curriculum. Like what a cool way to enhance what they're learning in social studies or enhance what they're learning in math. Because I remember being a kid and it was like computer time, 30 minutes block, but like that's not how we live technology nowadays. It's so integrated in our lives. And love that the students, when you ask them about TLC, they said computers and then cardboard and tape. Like they're really seeing that integration of building hands-on technology. Like they go together, they're not separate. That's really awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like that is what's been created from what Heidi has built K to 5.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Yes, the first time I've seen the STEM curriculum, and I'm blown away. It's really impressive. I saw the Sacco with Table Set as well.
We're lucky to have all of them.
Really thoughtful presentation. Always been impressed with the offerings. I agree when I think of technology, it's computers, but to have elements of building with cardboard and pipe cleaners and all that stuff. It's neat. You kind of addressed my question, which was, the first one was AI. Like we've got this examples of in kindergarten, we do this, and in first grade, we do this. And, are we approaching AI in that fashion yet as a district? Are we thinking about it where it's like the lesson for kindergarten it's really elementary, like ask AI to create some, goofy picture, and then by the time they get to third grade, they've understand what it is and they know how to use it. Are we having those discussions yet about moving the AI curriculum?
Yes, I think we're having them in bits and pieces. You could probably speak a little bit more about that, but our code and.
Well, so, can you, should I speak? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
For the folks at home.
So in second grade, our second grade teachers are amazing, and every grade level has a set of digital citizenship lessons that they teach to the students. And second grade added an intro to AI. So all of our so starting in second grade, all of our students have done an activity called it's called AI for Oceans.
Right.
Definitely. Right, it's on code.org. It's amazing. And what it does is it teaches kids in a very age appropriate way how AI works. So they actually train a robot so that it can identify the difference between trash and fish in an ocean. And then they run it, and then it will clean the ocean if they train it right. So they learn not only how the AI works, but they also learn how the integrity of the data is important if you bring it, because I've done this with a lot of kids, and there's always someone who tells the AI that the fish is trash and then the trash is fish, right? Because they want to experiment with that. They're just, of course. And I love it when they do that, because then they find out that their robot doesn't clean the ocean because it has to do it. So this is something all of our second graders have started this year. And then of course the hour of AI, and then we have chatbots that have been popping up here and there, but that's the only big grade level.
Okay. I would, that sounds great. I would, support an introduction to AI and a continuous progression through the K to 12 system, because I think we're all right. Like, it's here to stay, and it's use it or it pass by. And then my other question was, it's so wonderful to have this one-to-one technology and the integration, all that stuff. And maybe this isn't the right group to be asking this question, but it can also put a major distraction in the hands of students, right? Like, we don't have a rampant problem, but obviously there's like students going to FlexBlock and just playing games on the computers and all that stuff. And I get that FlexBlock is an opportunity for them to use that time as they see fit. But do we have ways to sort of control one's, school usage of technology while they're on school devices or on the school network or things like that? Are we taking a hard and fast look at that?
So we do have we have different levels of content filtering at different schools. So as far as what students are able to access, we've always had that in place. We have certain tools that we're starting to introduce that are allowing our classroom teachers to have more control over either the monitoring or just being able to kind of lock students into specific websites and stuff. And that's really honestly like Google Workspace for Education every year is coming out with more and more tools. So they came out with this tool called Class Tools just this past summer, and that will allow the classroom teacher to kind of limit or what students have access to when the students are in front of them.
Yeah.
As far as we have the ability to basically do anything through our content filtering, even for timelines, but no, at this point right now, it's really led to teachers for classroom management. That Class Tools feature, I think, is going to be super helpful. And actually, I will backtrack a little bit. Russell Street is actually they pilot this year. Last year, they piloted it in 5th grade. This year, they're doing it for the entire school. Very similar type of moderation control for the teacher, so that they can make sure kids can only have access to the 3 websites that they need.
Sure.
Class Tools is new. So we will be introing that. We have a few teachers at the middle school piloting it, and they really like it. So we just need to bring that to the staff so that we've sent things out via email with, tutorials and stuff like that. But we really need that face-to-face time for teachers to really realize that tool is pretty valuable. So those are really the things that we have in place. As far as restrictions on time, there's nothing that we have in place right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate all that. It all sounds good. I'm not the expert by any stretch of imagination. It's a great tool, but I would encourage the district to sort of continue those efforts, because when we put a screen in front of everybody, it's great if it's being used appropriately, but if it's, you know, if it's a barrier to whatever the student might actually be doing, right? They're not
Or
like,
distraction.
you know, ESPN reading about last night's game when they're supposed to be getting the lesson. So I think it's as important as is providing the instruction, it's making sure that the technology, making sure that the technology is used for the intended purpose. And then in their free time, they can use it for whatever would be considered appropriate as well.
Yeah, and I think we're getting there with that too, because again, I think that is something that teachers were like, we really like, the technology is amazing, it's wonderful, it's allowed our children to like experience, and we can get all this information, all these activities, but it also has at sometimes been overwhelming to the point where it's easy for students to lose focus, right?
Right.
And so I feel like those tools coming in, those are tools that teachers were looking for. So once you put them in the hands of teachers, it's magical. So Russell Street's been really successful. And I think once we get middle school on board, I can only imagine that class tool is going to be something that all teachers are going to really leverage. It doesn't work so well when we get to the high school because we don't have managed devices for all students. So it's sort of a mixed bag up there, but students are more responsible at that level too, about, you know, taking ownership of their own learning and what they need, their time management and stuff. So it is important. I think a lot of, honestly, classroom teachers are very aware and very conscious of time spent in front of the screens and what that time looks like and is it valuable and meaningful. And I think they're very, very much pay attention to that.
Good.
So we're trying to support them as much as we can. So
Great. Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.
Other
Next.
Good round. All right, we've got 5 pieces of new business this evening, the first of which is an update to the pre-K rates. So business manager Steve Mark will provide an update and propose on the tuition rates for the next 3 years.
Good evening. So, excuse me. Within the packet, there's a proposal. Sorry, it's an Excel spreadsheet. It's not a fancy PowerPoint presentation. So sorry about that. But
That's the job.
for the folks at home, this is probably difficult to read and enlarge. So it's in the packet online. So it's here. So what we're proposing. So what the information is here is the top of the section is our current rates. Our current full day pre-K rate is $6,695. We broke that down into monthly and weekly just for comparative purposes. And then we also have a half-day program, AM program, and a half-day PM program. And you can see what those tuition rates are. At the bottom section of that are comparables with some other surrounding towns and their programs. And you can see that within those examples, we are not at the top scale. We're not at the bottom. We're at the lower bottom section of those comparables tuition rates, but we're certainly not the most expensive program around. What we're proposing, and you can see in here as well, is the number of students that are in that program. So there's 44 students within that pre-K program right now. Some of those students pay tuition, some do not. We are not looking to recover or cover the cost of the entire program with the tuition. It only covers a portion of it. For example, the last time we delved into this was 2018. The salary cost of that program was about $340,000. Since 2018, the salary cost of that program have risen to $465,000. So the salaries have risen significantly over the number of years. We have not kept up with increasing the tuition for that pre-K program. So we are looking to do a modest 3% increase over the next 3 years. You can see what those rates would be. It's for the first year, for the full day program, it's an increase of approximately $200 for the year, which equates to $20 a month increase. And then you can see the rates going out. It's about $20 a month over the next 3 years, increase for the full day program. And then it's broken down by the half day programs as well. Again, this is not intended to cover the entire cost of the program. It is an integrated program, so some residents pay tuition to have their kids participate in that program, and other kids are in an inclusive program. And so we have to balance that off. So that's what this proposal is. I can get into granular details if you want me to. But it's a modest 3% increase each year for the next 3 years, just to help recoup and kind of set the tone for, we need to look at this on a more regular basis. And again, try to keep up with some of the rising salary costs that we deal with for that program. So the program consists of teachers and then teacher aides in the classroom. So yeah, so.
And clinicals.
And what?
Clinicals.
And clinical support, right.
And so just to clarify, Steve, this is students on IEPs do not pay tuition?
That's correct.
So this is just for the community peers, the students that,
That's correct.
$750.
right, I'm
Right.
just like clarifying for the public.
Yes, it's community
Yeah.
peers, inclusive.
Yeah.
Balance, the equity. Right.
Can I just clarify? It's students who the program is recommended for. So there could be a child on an IEP that just receives speech therapy. They would still pay tuition if they're applying to be a community peer. It is if they're on an IEP and the team has recommended either the half day or the full day program.
Okay,
Through the-
Right, thank you.
Right.
So I'll just add, Janine and I visited this topic with Steve and Kelly yesterday at the budget subcommittee meeting, and I believe that we were in support of this coming out of it. We didn't take an official vote or anything, but we talked this through and we were in support of it today. So if you look at the comps that Steve offers, I am of the opinion that we are the lowest, the least expensive option, because that Westford option is only a 4-day program. And then the alternative, right, is if you want to send your child to preschool and they aren't able to get into the Littleton program, you're looking at a private pay situation. And I did some quick research. I don't need to share those numbers, but it's like, 2 or 3 times what the tuition is here. Granted, it's perhaps a different experience because it might not be an inclusionary program or whatever, but it's big bucks. So I think I'm in support of this 3% increase, and for us to revisit this at least every 3 years. How about that?
Perfect.
Can I ask why? I'm actually surprised we don't increase the rate year over year with inflation and cost increases. Is that standard?
Excuse me, it has been for this district for years. The school committee perspective of fees in general was we wanted to keep them as low as possible to help our families out. But there comes a point in time where we need to start catching up a bit. It's a deal, it's a bargain, it's a well-run program, and we wanted to make sure our increases were modest. We had a discussion about the fact that our community was very supportive in building a new Shaker Lane school, and we want to make sure that we're not adding unnecessary costs for them, for their younger students, or younger children, am I correct?
I felt like the 3% really reflected a lot of the healthcare costs. And then as we were talking about, what are we working, not as much to recoup, but to kind of like reflect is, and I was like, I'm good with that because that's where we all are.
Steve, forgive me if you have this already, but I was just curious, what do you project to be the total increased revenue for 3 years?
It's not much. It's about $4,000 a year.
Okay.
Out of about $120,000 that we take in fees. So it's not a significant dollar amount, but it sets the tone moving forward. That's what we're trying to do.
We have like potentially like 28
Yeah, just to feel like we could answer.
people in total
Yes.
paying tuition.
Yeah.
Less than that, because the 12 and the 9 is 21, cut that in half. It's like 18, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's like 18 full-time payers.
I wasn't getting to a big number.
So we, you know, the idea here, as Steve explained, is to slightly offset this expense that we incur for running the program, which we run the program because we have an obligation to support some of these students that are referred to us for services. It's a nice balance. Seems to make sense all the way around.
Yeah, the sport.
Right, we're not trying to cover the entire cost of the program. Just, we need to start the process of reviewing this, and this is that first step.
Makes sense.
Any other discussion? No?
Do need a motion.
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you like to vote on this? Is there a motion to accept the proposed 3% increases over the next 3 years as proposed? Motion made by Sean, seconded by
Second.
Elaine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, new business item number 2 is a discussion on rationale for adopting religious holidays. The committee will discuss rationale on adopting religious holidays.
Is this the first step for all of the policies, or is this a separate discussion?
This agenda item is just about this one.
Yeah, then we'll go into the others, the next item.
Okay. Sorry, I just.
So, the full transparency, asked for this to be on the agenda. This is something that has sort of come up the last couple of years around the time that the calendar gets released, which is in March. And there's been a discussion, oftentimes led by me, about how the calendar, when we should start, when we should end, which days we should take off, when we should have conferences, all that good stuff. And the only way to address the aspect of religious holidays was to do it well in advance of when the calendar planning takes place. So here we are. When I first joined the school committee, there were 2 religious holiday observations. We had Good Friday and Yom Kippur. Then we introduced and added Diwali. And it was around that same time that I think Juneteenth became a federal holiday. So as a district, we were sort of getting out around Juneteenth, which kind of makes the end of the school year like a little bit cumbersome. Then as a district, we've since gone back to school before Labor Day. So Juneteenth isn't really as much of an issue depending upon the weather and superintendent's call on snow days. And then a couple of years ago, we revisited this topic, and at such time, we chose to remove the observation of Good Friday. So presently we have 2, and I bring this up just to kind of just check in on everybody's opinion and how we should do this. But I'm of the opinion that we should be observing federal holidays only. There's protection within the policy and within the student handbook about religious observations. So if you choose to take a day off to observe religious holidays, there's a lot of time for makeup work and all that good stuff. Where I struggle with the observation of religious holidays, I fully support that. I think you should have the day off to celebrate a religious holiday. But where I struggle with it is, what about the families who aren't observing their religious holiday? So if at one point we had 3, and then there were some districts that have 4 or 5 religious holidays, all of a sudden you have a lot of time off. And if let's just say you had 5 religious holidays, you had 5 religions, and it was evenly split, you've got 80% of your population that's off, that doesn't have a religious holiday to celebrate. And oftentimes I'm thinking about the pre-K to 5 population, where what do they do with those kids that are home, during that time? Like we just talked about the pre-K and the tuition and what does it cost for childcare and all that good stuff. So my thought process is, as a district, we don't pick and choose which religious holidays we observe. We rely upon the protections within the other policies and the student handbook to say, hey, if you need to observe a religious holiday, you have the right to do so. There's no negative impact on your grading or on your your sort of student obligation. And we just kind of make it clear, cut and dry that if the federal government tells us a religious holiday and the post office is closed and the banks are closed that day and that we have that day off, those are holidays. So I don't know if anybody feels the same way I do, or if you do or don't, this is your opportunity to sort of express your opinion.
I'm open to that, but I do think that in my opinion, there's a difference between having the right to be not at school and having a day go by and having to catch back up after the fact, especially if you get the higher grades since you're missing a test or whatnot.
So there wouldn't, I don't mean to cut you
No,
off,
please.
but I believe there's some language in there where you really shouldn't have tests on these holidays. And if you do, I think it's sort of an oversight of the staff member. And then of course, there's an opportunity to make it up, and I sympathize with that. Yes, life goes on when you take a day off, whether it's, you were ill or observation or took a vacation day or whatever. But
There's no expectation that the staff doesn't hold tests. It's just the student is excused. You can't possibly not do tests accounting for all the holidays. That would be almost the entire year.
yeah, I thought I read somewhere that
So it
essentially
says
there
they
wasn't
not accountable for tests, quizzes and
Right.
homework.
Right. It doesn't hold the
Yeah.
staff accountable for not having tests.
And shall be allowed to make up tests, quizzes, homework, and other one-time events,
Right.
at a period agreed upon by the student's teacher and the parent.
Did you get your file?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah.
I actually have a question. So, because I remember, I only heard this third hand, so I remember the third hand discussion on how some of these came to be the way it is now. And so is Christmas a federal holiday?
It is.
And New Year's Day is a federal holiday.
They are.
And then, so what is striking me is I remember hearing third hand, like I said, how the group of students came to the school committee at the time and asked for a Diwali off because they had talked to their friends and their friends were feeling like not as important as those who celebrated Christmas. That I'm not saying that right, but I'm sure they said it much better, the students. It just, I feel like I want to honor and keep and hold that action, because while that was an action that happened several years ago, students got together and they had talked to their friends and they thought it was important enough to come and say, there are people in our student body that this really matters to, and we would like to speak up for them. And I just, no matter how we move forward, I want to remember that. I think that was a really important thing for the kid, for those students to do for their friends. And I just, there is, there's a trend right now to minimize those who aren't in the majority, and I don't want to go along with that.
During the summer retreat, I recommended that we take a look at this policy sometime this year. But having observed what's happening in our nation and around the world, I'm really not sure whether this is the appropriate time to make a change. This is the time to support our community and not divide them in any way unintentionally. So I'm a little hesitant after watching what's been happening since we had that meeting in the fall. I think at some point in time, the school committee is going to have to take a look at this, because there will be other religious holidays that they're going to be requested. As our community continues to grow in diversity, there are other holidays that I've personally been approached by community members on, and we've had great conversations. When do we have a critical mass in this community where we need to make sure that we're equitable? But I'm just not sure right now is the time.
Yeah, I think we should, so we purposely put this on the agenda before
Yes.
we talk about the calendar because it seems like if we don't, then we end up talking about this when we're reviewing the calendar and then
Mhm.
sending the calendar committee back to the drawing board because we make a different decision. So I'm grateful that we're talking about it now. I hear what you're saying, Kelly. I think that's a really good point in these days that we're living in right now. I would recommend that we just annually pull this up again and talk about it again. An additional lens that I've started thinking about it through is which of these religious holidays are celebrated during school hours? You know, if you know, and I think we would really need to talk with people in the different faith communities to learn more about that. But, you know, would a student be able to celebrate the holiday in the evening is if that's a religious tradition? Or is it really something that happens all day long, in which case we would want to consider having the day off? But that's just another, you know, like, so you're saying one way to think about it is to just have the federal holidays. Maybe another way to look at it is which holidays are celebrated during school hours. So, but I agree with you, Kelly. I think the timing right now may be a little, it's very sensitive to be talking about removing religious holidays from a calendar. And it's only 2. You know, I think in past years we've had many more. So the fact that we got it down to 2, I think is remarkable.
However, it's Justin's point.
Million, 3, max 3.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm thinking.
Well, like,
back in the
like
old
Acton
days.
might have 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
But to your point about, because I have been that parent who had a day off, had no school day and looked at it and knew I had like extra work and a work meeting at the end and no idea where my kids were gonna be or what was gonna happen. Not now, not right this minute, but boy, that would be a good conversation maybe for the school district to say, okay, we are going to have these days off. How do we support our community as they do that? Because I wasn't the only single mom, you know, who had to be at work in Andover and had a 7 and a 9-year-old and had no idea where they were going to be. It's
Yeah, but the district wouldn't have an option because they just leave off.
well,
No one's working that day. You know,
Okay.
the community could get together, like
Yeah.
there could be, you know, parent groups or park and rec or whatever, but
so we couldn't
the
do.
district's certainly not gonna provide an opportunity because that's a day where everybody's off.
Okay, so we couldn't do Tigers Den or something. Can't, okay.
Um,
But it is it is a very, very important point. I mean, every decision we make, you know, like puts a stressor on families in different ways.
oh yeah, and we have, you know, we've got 10 half days for PD and
Yeah.
we've got a couple, you know,
Yeah, I remember them too.
I'm trying like by no stretch of imagination am I saying any religious holiday is more important than anybody else's. Everybody should get an opportunity to celebrate their holiday. These holidays also happen around like the whole no school November tagline, which is just unfortunate. Like I think that if they occurred somewhere else on the calendar, perhaps they wouldn't get smashed into that, you know, no school November tagline. So there's a ton of starts and stops.
Mhm.
Once we, you know, we get into school and then the November, the weeks leading into November is tough. I'm of course like happy to do whatever the committee decides. We decided to do nothing, that's totally fine. I just bring it up and that maybe others are saying the same thing. We should look at this annually. You know, we are unfortunately in the business of picking and choosing which religious holidays we want to observe right now. We've picked 2. There's you know, we had a 3rd. I can think of 4th or a 5th. And what we're deciding is really like which squeaky wheel gets their day off.
We can also, you know, keep in mind who our community is.
Correct.
Well, that is
The
how they were
demographics.
chosen. These
Yeah.
are not, the
Yeah.
Volley was not chosen because they're the South Asian School Committee member. This was actually there before my time.
No,
because
no,
the
no, not-
community- No, but
not saying
especially
that at all.
Yom Kippur, right? I think it was sort of community we had a very robust discussion about Good Friday. It was a very difficult conversation, like it is picking and choosing, but based on sort of community input at Saks, like, yes, if a lot of the community came to us about like Chinese New Year, we would have that discussion, but we're not gonna say, hey, I really like Chinese New Year, so let's throw that one in. Like, there has to be a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
they're picked thoughtfully and intentional.
The
And
demographic.
I think, I think we could very easily get ourselves in a situation where members of our community ask for Good Friday back and then the Chinese New Year. I agree with you. Like if student organizations like say, hey, my fellow students should have their religious holiday off, great. But I'll also tell you, people were said, hey, sign this piece of paper, it's another day off. And they were like, yeah, sure. They still go to school for 180 days, but who doesn't want a day off?
One more point I wanted to add though with, going back in time and how a religious holiday, Christmas, became a federal holiday. Like we've already got a Christian holiday baked into the calendar by default. So, I think that's another thing that we need to think about when we're trying to balance different religious faiths that have days off.
It's yes, and again, I don't want to put my neck out there. Yes and no. That'd be like if one of these holidays always fell on a Sunday. It's not a big deal. We're already off for Christmas.
Right,
There's a
but
winter
why are we
break.
already off? Because
Because
it's
it's a federal
Christmas.
holiday.
I know, but
Yeah.
like, listen, the calendar committee could say, hey, we're not taking that week off, which would be like a problem for everybody. But they could, and then under my guidance, I would be like, well, it's a federal holiday. No one's gonna want to work on Christmas. We can't obligate the staff to work on a federal holiday, so therefore we have to take it off. But in theory, the calendar committee could be like, we're gonna do something different this year and not take that week off. It would be a problem for everybody because.
I mean, obviously that's not gonna happen, but I just wanted to highlight
Just
that,
saying, like,
that,
and it's
you know,
not, and I'm
Well,
not
that's why we
saying,
had the Good Friday conversation.
Yeah.
It's actually quite like that.
I agree. That was when I first joined the committee, yeah.
yeah, and I, like, everybody's pointing out that Christmas is, federal holiday and that one's already there, but what, I think there's 11 of them or whatever, and maybe 10 of them fall within the school year or something like that. Not July 4th and maybe not Juneteenth, so maybe 9 of them.
Can I just say two things? One is principle and one is logistics. I think to your point, like it's definitely worth revisiting. The community keeps changing. Like we shouldn't just assume that this is still valid, but to ensure that it meets the needs of the communities and it aligns with values. And from what I hear from this committee, equity is one of the values. Equity and equality are not the same. Like if we don't believe in celebrating all the holidays equally, we'd never be in school. But when you think about equity, it's really about meeting the needs of the community. And I think that's what we have reflected here. Logistically, it's a tricky year because Labor Day is so late. So we're going to have a problem coming up to the end of June and Diwali's on a Sunday. You're just not going to be celebrating Diwali next year anyway.
Right.
So both of those I would just keep in mind. Yes, you're right. Labor Day is so late. Everything's getting pushed late. Diwali is irrelevant in 2026.
Yeah, but if I could say, I think it's good to always take a critical eye and so that we always have to look at the calendar. I respect that. We should ask questions. I think right now, there's good reason to have the holidays that we have right now, from what I see, given the population we have. If those population numbers change or if it's happening, always reconsider, but right now, I think it makes sense.
But it's great. I'll just add, I think there's 3 ways to do it. One is no religious holidays. Second one is religious holidays of those that have, community impact, their importance. And then the third is I find some of districts use some religious holidays for some half day type stuff. So this, and that does that become equitable for staff members, right? But that seems to be the sort of the 3 usages of those days where maybe the students are in for half a day and then they get out early so they have an opportunity for that religious observation. But then the same is not true for staff.
But our staff might be a completely different community than our. So it's
Very
for
well,
consideration.
very well could be, but all it takes is one staff member to be part of that community to say, what about me?
So since we're talking about a policy, is it worth considering writing into the policy that it will be examined every year? So instead of like writing Yom Kippur and Diwali and for every year, should we say, you know, that this is the decision for this year and that we will revisit it every,
I would not
January.
recommend putting that in writing, but just doing it in practice.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the committee always has an opportunity to
You
review
hold yourself when you put it in writing.
policies as frequently as you want to, and if the committee hasn't expressed interest in looking at this next year, we certainly
Yeah.
can. But that would that would obligate the committee to do so.
Well, I kind of think well, hopefully the policy committee, and the people who plan the agenda will remember that we need to talk about this within a decent framework before the calendar committee gets busy, because we don't want to waste their time on false assumptions.
I think it's good practice, but
Yeah.
you put it in writing and it becomes a mandate.
Right. I hear what you're saying.
Yep.
But I would,
We're gonna hold ourselves to account.
yeah, I would, if we don't want to make any changes, I would leave it as is.
Okay.
Right, so that was a discussion on rationale, so we don't need a vote to keep it the same. However, we can, if it's included in the next topic of the 13 policies, we could push for the first reading, so we're all set on the religious holidays conversation?
Yep.
Good. Thank you for revisiting that with me. New business item number 3, which is the first reading of policies, so we're going to review 13 policies. The committee will hold an in-depth discussion on select policies as required. So we've got, I'm going to turn this over to the policy subcommittee to go through with this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Helpful to sort of go through each one and highlight the changes, maybe. Thank you to Alex, who's not here, for doing this work of organizing each policy and highlighting the updates.
Alex is online, so.
Well, thank you.
I
Alex.
see it.
Yeah, can I point out, I mean, even just the first one, can we cap the observe in this? The first absence to observe religious absence. Oh, yeah. In the first, in the title of that also. Just, it's.
Oh,
typo.
capitalized.
Capitalize?
Yeah, it's just a typo.
Yeah.
There are a couple of those.
So let's go in order, maybe.
Sure.
BHC, which is around school committee staff communications. This policy was actually amended, by request, I think earlier this fall, when we had talked about revisiting our policy around communications from school district to community. We have a policy on communication from school committee to staff. We added the community piece, as you can see, and so this is sort of brand new language that we have put in there. This is not from Mass, is my understanding. We both.
No, there's nothing out there.
Yeah.
So I took a first approach to this, and I'm not sure whether it's ready at this point in time, but the intent here is if there's a desire to do a joint communication between the superintendent and the school committee, that it's deemed a non-operational communication. It's operational communication would come from the superintendent. And operational communication is anything that affects the district and something that happens in our community that I need to respond to as a superintendent. There may be times where I feel that whatever this topic is, it would be beneficial for the school committee to do a joint communication. It was a serious enough matter. In those situations, we would follow the process that I'm suggesting. We would come together as a school committee, have a draft ready, and discuss it in public session. And, either support the draft or tweak it, and then we would send it out jointly to the community. Non-operational communication is something that doesn't really directly affect our community. Could be something as something happening in California with all the forest fires and the floods, and So it's concerned citizens, we want to offer our support and hope that they're able to overcome this in a timely fashion, and we would recommend that our community and beyond help in any way they can to restore their lost property and restore a way of life that we all want to live. The key here is, if we're going to do a joint communication, and I've said this many times, and I need to repeat it, our job is to bring the community together. If there's any chance that it's going to create divisiveness, then that's not our job. And sometimes it's difficult to know how things are going to be perceived. And I feel that's why it's important that we have 6 people around this table looking at what we may want to do through very different lenses and experiences. I've talked to a number of superintendents about this. I always smile when I do, because they look at me and give me that look. We just don't do that. It's not a bad idea, but there will come a time again, because we all are passionate about different things. And I think it's important that there's a process in place. If the school committee member wants us to do a joint communication, then it needs to come from the school committee, not the individual to the superintendent. And this is just a first draft that I think captures most of it. It might be too language laden, I'm not sure, but I unfortunately wasn't able to be at the policy meeting, so I didn't have a chance to discuss the language at all.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that, Kelly. I think it's worth a discussion when a topic comes up that, where we can all ask ourselves, does the community need to hear about us? Hear from us about this right now. And I think the answer to that question would come out of a discussion. And so I'm really grateful that you've got some language in there that'll help frame that.
So my only take on this would be, I think maybe it's not just for joint communication, so it probably needs to be for school committee communication just to the public as well.
Yeah.
So, we haven't had any of these things take place in this district, but other districts have, where there's an issue with the superintendent, there's an issue with the budget, there's an issue with, something. And you're not involved because, not you, Kelly, but let's say the superintendent's not involved because the superintendent's what we're talking about. We probably would need a mechanism or a procedure for drafting something and getting it out. So I think that should follow the same outline as presented here, where we would need to have a meeting, we would need to agree on language, and we would need to send it out. So it doesn't just become the chair's responsibility or the clerk's responsibility or something like that. And we wouldn't want to violate any open meeting law with drafting and, sending around revisions and all that good stuff. So in the event that the school committee wished to make a public statement, or only do so if it was necessary, we would probably follow the same procedure.
So Kelly, the part you're talking about is the part in blue at the bottom of the policy? Okay.
Yes.
Is this the time to propose edits, or we do first reading?
Both now.
We can do that. We can do
I
that.
think we compared this at the subcommittee meeting, but last year. I think I said, so where it says we typically refrain from communication that go beyond any impact directly affecting our own community. There is a lot of things that will impact some parts of our community, like there are ethnic and religious things happening to certain communities that might impact someone in our community, just not all.
Right.
So I think I suggested that language maybe be something like we typically refrain from communications that does not impact day-to-day school operations. It's not about the impact of the community, because maybe something's happening in India and I'm impacted, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about something that's not day-to-day school activity. So I think right? Did I say this?
Yeah, I think we had that
language.
discussion about bringing it back to talking about school and how the school impacts this community.
Yeah, because there's different people being impacted by different things, right?
Yeah, I think I would use the language school and community rather than operations, because operations is it's an administrative domain, so
Okay.
I like that. The way you phrase that better than what I have here, because mine is pretty administrative in terms of non-operation. This is more personal and easier to understand.
Yeah.
You know, Justin, in terms of your comment, this process could be followed, but if it's about a staff member, it has to happen in executive session. You can't do it in public session.
It wouldn't, I don't have all the details, but it wouldn't be about a staff member. It would, that staff, are we talking about the superintendent position?
I misunderstood.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't be a staff member. That would be operational. That wouldn't be school committee business.
Right.
But if all of a sudden there was an issue with, again, not you, but the
Right.
superintendent of the district, and we as the school committee needed to communicate something about an extended leave or something like that, or
I got you.
the next person stepping up,
I got you now.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So the
Or,
title being, school committee or joint non-operational communication.
correct,
Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
it's great.
Mhm.
Thank you for this, Joe.
Well, thank you. I'm glad that it made sense.
So on that one, we just have that proposed edit, which is we typically refrain from communications that go beyond operational.
Yeah, just, I think some rewording of not, communications that goes beyond any impact directly affecting our own community.
Right, affecting our community and schools.
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you an opportunity. Maybe it's just a community. It could be both. I don't topic. I think that wording works really well.
Wait, sorry, so you're suggesting we typically refrain from communications that go beyond any impact directly affecting our community and schools?
Yes.
I guess that's what I'm wondering about. Isn't everything happening in the world right now affecting our community and schools?
Maybe the word directly is what
That's key. It's
It's,
localized.
That's why I said day to day, or something about educational
How
or.
about localized?
Directly affecting the school, the school district. I wouldn't say operations.
Directly affecting the.
I see, I see what you're saying, and
Why don't we
to bring
strip
it
that
back.
sentence entirely. Discussions should focus on whether requests rise to the level of sending out communication. That's a good sniff test. They would need to be deemed non-operational, and then it just moves right on to,
And request should be vetted, or take that part out too.
no, just take that part out too. Requests from individual school committee members specific to non-operational community. Communication will follow the process outlined above.
Yeah, because the sentence that starts, we typically refrain is kind of just.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Take
think
that
we need
out.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we need that.
I agree.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the intent of that sentence, but Vino's bringing up the point that's like, maybe we do want to send communication out to make community members aware that there might be, a minority, representation within our community that is being affected by something, and we're just alerting others to be sensitive around it, or,
I think the key here is it's discussed around the table. So that we have different perspectives.
right.
I'm a firm believer if you have input from a number of people that are wanting to do the right thing, have a different lens of what that is, you're going to do the right thing, most likely. And the chances of not being successful are minimal.
Another way to phrase that is if the very first sentence is the school committee has in their jurisdiction the ability to send communications to the community that relate to operations of the district. Joint or school committee non-operational communication can be defined like basically the opposite of what you say where we typically refrain, which is you have the jurisdiction to send emails that have to do with
Right.
school operation.
Right. Yep.
Period. And then the rest of it is everything else that's not. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
I like that.
Okay. So you'll, you'll come back with those edits for the second reading. Great.
Okay.
Moving on to AC.
Policy is HC.
Do you want to announce what that is for the public record?
Policy AC, non-discrimination and harassment. And this was the policy that has been updated by our lawyer to align with. What is it, Lynn?
So they specifically broadened the definitions of sexual assault. So for example, the definition of rape has been broadened, the definition of fondling has been eliminated, replaced with criminal sexual conduct, which also results in a broader definition. And so the changes, it's really the core of it is based on the Universal Crime Report, the FBI's definition of sexual assault offenses. And so, but the attorney reviewing and vetting this, it kind of cleans up the language, aligns with the regulations, and incorporates everything so that like the language in there is now legally compliant. And aligns also with our district's procedures.
Appreciate that word. That's specific.
Yeah, we've done it 2 years in a row.
Wow. So we're getting ahead of the mask policy here, unless they've updated theirs, but
2020.
Well, we're legally required to adhere to the federal laws.
right, right.
They may have updated theirs, but we just did this based on the lawyer.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of interesting, right? So we're striking military and veteran status as, I suppose, like a,
Not protected class under that regulation.
yeah. We're striking marital status.
It's now pregnancy related status.
And we are striking ethnicity, which does
Ethnic
that
background.
fall under ethnic background?
Ethnic background again.
Is the replacement for ethnicity? Okay.
And Lynn, you're the Title IX coordinator, right?
I am.
Are veterans directed anywhere else in policy or?
And school committee policies, they are referenced in, I think they're referenced in our dental policy. There's specific policy related to protections for military status of veteran. It's just that this specifically aligns with there's language that captures any category protected by state or federal law.
Looks great.
So in the first paragraph, homelessness is being added, but in the last paragraph on page 1, we strike homelessness.
Well, because in the first paragraph, there's language that says consistent with the requirements of the McKinney-Vento Act, which is related to homelessness and housing security.
Okay, so what you're saying is we don't need to spell that out because it's covered under that act. Okay. I mean, I'm not an expert at this, and this is the lawyer's recommendation, and this has been vetted by the district, and it's got all the appropriate language. I'm good with it.
This is also just federal.
Okay.
So,
Yes.
the policy EEA student transportation services. This one, small modification that was suggesting an update to align with mass policy. It's really not the whole paragraph. It's, the school system will contract for transportation services. We're suggesting each school district may. And some of them could own their own buses. It's just flexible language. And then, it's just a slight modification to the second sentence of awarding contracts, but this is exact mass.
Okay. Taxi contractors being removed, huh?
Okay, EEAA. Was no changes to that policy.
Can we highlight this one paragraph, students requesting to take a different bus home? Or get off at a stop other than their regular one may do so if the parent guardian send permission slip to the school office in the morning. That we had a big discussion.
Oh, right, because this is not what we do in practice.
So
Wait, hold on, we've moved on to EEAA.
Oh, sorry, were there any thoughts on EEA?
No, I just didn't hear about like, I just didn't
Policy.
notice us move to the
Okay.
next one.
If there are no discussions on EEA, EEAA.
Well, just on EEA.
Oh, okay.
On that last one, like this reads, because in practice, my understanding is that it's kind of at Steve Mark's responsibility. And reads the superintendent working with the bus contractor and other appropriate administrators, which probably would be the business manager, will be responsible for bus schedules, route stops, and other matters related to transportation programs. Is this your desire, Superintendent Clancy, that ultimately this falls under your authority name?
I don't have choice.
Okay, then.
And
then I'm all set.
we use appropriate administrators because quite often our principals are involved in route schedules.
Okay.
Pick up and drop off.
All right, then I'm good.
EEAA. We highlight this paragraph for discussion because it says students requesting to take a different bus home or get off at a stop other than their regular one may do so if the parent guardian sends signed permission slip to the school office in the morning. These requests will be honored to the extent possible. School department reserves the right to deny such requests. There's flexibility in there. However, this is not what we do in practice. We actually do not allow, as far as I know, because I've tried this.
And you didn't pull out the policy and.
It's just a flat
I don't know if I
no.
want to speak on this one or not now. I'm not sure. I'd like to delegate.
Yeah, right? I gave you a chance.
I didn't take
you
it.
had a chance to get out of this.
Darn it. Can we go back?
But this
It's
is where
it's flexible.
this is where it's important to have parents on this committee.
I'm concerned
Not to
that,
open a can of.
no, but I'm concerned, I don't know the context, but I do know that we do make these exceptions in the district. So I don't know what happened. I'm kind of curious. Yes, I mean,
Well, let me just tell you, you're
I'm on
saying,
Russell Street this year, so.
you're saying exception, but if this were implemented, it would be more the norm. It
No,
would be a
Well,
lot of.
but that's an issue.
Right.
That's an issue because
Because we have done that, but I don't know what the circumstances are. I mean, go ahead, Steve.
if we had
Delegate.
tens of kids and 20 kids changing buses on a daily basis, it's a nightmare for drivers. And all it takes is one lost student
Yeah.
because he gets off on the wrong spot and all heck is gonna break loose. So
Yeah.
we highly discourage that. We do allow it on occasional basis. We have allowed it for, medical reasons, for families that are going through difficulties and their student needs to get off at a different caregivers. We do allow it
Okay.
on a case by case basis, but we highly discourage that just for security reasons. And the bus company itself doesn't like it because it's a nightmare for drivers to try to manage.
I mean, that makes sense to me, and there's flexibility in here for the school department to deny it, but my suggestion would be to say,
Three words.
in specific circumstances,
Extenuate.
students requesting, like, this sounds like it's normal practice.
Yes.
No,
Should-
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've been asked, oh, can Johnny take the bus because he wants to go to a birthday party
Just
someplace?
today.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, we don't do that.
Or
Yeah.
can we have 5 different drop-off spots?
Right.
Every
Yeah, one for each day.
Right, I think just adding in specific circumstances or extenuating circumstances to the start of this paragraph,
Yeah.
just changes the whole
Yeah.
paragraph.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
I like
let's
that.
do
Yeah, no, I
apologies.
agree with you, and I understand the rationale, like enrollment on the buses is full, even though ridership might not be full.
Correct.
But then all it takes is like the Wednesday half day and everybody's going over Johnny's house and, you know.
Correct, and
the
now
bus
the
is
drivers
filled out.
don't know,
Yeah.
drivers don't know.
No, seriously,
They
like-
don't know who's getting on the
Yeah.
bus, they don't know where they're supposed to get off. One student gets off on the wrong spot, we can't find them, and it's mayhem.
Right,
Our youngest students, too. They're more vulnerable.
It-
So, yeah.
It's more for safety and security of the students than it is convenience for trying to manage it, but we also don't have the staff to manage those kind of transitions.
so why don't we come back with a revised paragraph that suggests
Yeah.
under extenuating circumstances, the district will.
Yeah.
Look
I'm
to-
suggesting
look
Work
to
to
allow that,
accommodate, work
yeah.
to accommodate or something like that.
Okay,
Correct.
Thank you.
I do also want to point out to your earlier point, Justin, in the previous policy around the superintendent doing bus routes, here it says the superintendent or designee shall develop bus routes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is that consistent with
That's what we
shared
do.
before in the
Mhm,
previous
that's fine.
policy?
Yeah.
That's fine, okay.
Where does it say that?
Three paragraphs before the one that's highlighted in EEAA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the other EEA just says. The superintendent working with the bus contractor and other appropriate administrators will be responsible, so it doesn't say or designate. So is that what you're questioning is sort of a cross reference between these two?
It should be put in.
Yeah, so then let's add the superintendent parentheses designee
Previous,
into EEA.
okay.
Instead of EEA.
Yeah.
Sports.
It's just as the superintendent is responsible.
So we're gonna add or designee in
Right.
EEA.
Correct.
So it's consistent. Okay. Other questions or thought about EEAA? EEAE. You should come to our meetings sometimes. It's really fun. We just changed children to stupid.
And then this matches mask, right?
Yes, and all our other policies that say students, we never see children.
I know, it just came out and we're just like sitting there looking at it going, oh,
That's
why?
interesting.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm like, whose children?
Say students. That would be good. That makes sense there?
Okay.
Yeah.
EEAG is around private vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
This was reworded to be updated to mask.
Yeah, I think what we had to match mask it. What should done.
There weren't significant changes, if I remember right, we just added. It's the Cory one. So the fourth one is the difference. Or the driver and any non-student will be subject to a satisfactory.
Yeah.
Oh, and also in the first one. The activity has the approval of the principal. We wrote the activity as the approval of the superintendent of schools or designee. That was also updated with mask.
Okay. I think we're all felt about it.
Okay. EFC. Remember about EFC. I think we said this is our current policy.
Say for the record what it is.
Yeah, so
Okay.
free and reduced,
Free and
right?
reduced.
food services.
Yeah. And we are proposing to scratch EFC, which you can see is very small, and replace with the next page, which is the updated EFC Universal Free School Meals, which is the current mask policy. So it's a significant rewrite.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because when I was reading this, I thought, how can we have both?
Mhm.
There.
No,
They're in
we're
opposition to
proposing to
discuss.
strike the first
Yeah.
one as it is. It is just significantly outdated.
So this would have to be another one that we possibly have to look at every year because we don't know how long the free lunch program is going to go on.
Okay.
What new policy do we have within building plans?
Well, we're offering free. That's what I'm saying, so there shouldn't be no more, right? Staff pay. Okay. But our children don't, we're solid.
Yeah, so in the event that this a national school lunch program, Massachusetts Universal Free Meals Program were to make changes, we would need to revisit this immediately because we would need to implement, you know, a subsidized system, which was the previous system.
Yeah.
Um,
At which point I have to mask also.
yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah. Pretty.
Um,
So relatedly, EFD, because I think you're talking about charge.
Yeah.
In EFD, that's our old policy, and we're proposing 2 pages down. Again, with free lunch. It's a whole rewritten policy for EFD, school nutrition program charge.
So we would delete EFD, which is our former food service policy,
Yes.
and adopt
Scroll down to the mask policy.
that
That was it.
EFD. I'm trying to
Yeah.
like read it into the record so the folks at home understand what we're talking about.
Yes.
So we'd replace it with EFD, the school nutrition program charge policy.
Yes.
The new policy here, I'm seeing still going on. I know it speaks to, I was curious.
Yes, because we, Lane, I remember we talked about this because of the part where it says each student is only allowed to take 1 regular meal.
Yeah, they pay for à la carte items and they'll pay, some high school kids want a double lunch, they
Right.
are hungry kids, and so they can, but then they.
Free lunch has a
They have
limit,
school
it's not unlimited.
Right.
Assume like ice cream and treats, or do we have that, and that we charge for à la carte items?
Yeah, if they get like if they get like a second milk, or if they get something, and it, so the school lunch is a set standard amount of. Then they will get a second lunch, or if they want to get, or just a second piece of pizza, they get charged for that second piece.
Oh, we don't have a big cooler of ice cream. There's like that. Nope, I shouldn't talk about that. That's my day.
Sometimes there's specialty or like à la carte items like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Comes with the lunch.
yeah, the middle school.
Comes
Do
with
like
the
an
lunch,
iced
yeah.
tea thing, a little special, or.
If they go to the line to get a lunch, they don't get, there's the 2 à la carte, maybe it's at high school, there's 2 à la carte, areas. And they can go and they can top it off.
But if you want to purchase, it's $2.
Okay. Cool. So that
If they want that, yeah. And so,
If we're good with.
Yeah.
Free and reduced lunch and food service policy, FA facilities development goals. There's no changes proposed, but if we take a look. Let me have it stick here.
Yeah, this one has to do with the MSBA.
did just experience this, so.
Yeah.
It felt pretty updated to us when we read it.
We followed the policy without even knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all set with this one.
Yeah.
Okay. SBF, SBF. I can't remember, Janine, if we had proposed this change or we highlighted it because this has actually been brought to our attention as a question.
I didn't,
For the record, FBF is naming school.
Naming school
department
department.
facilities. Um,
I thought I remembered that this last paragraph was not part of Mass.
Yes. This is not part of Mass, but we have it as part of our policy, but we felt fine keeping it as part of our policy.
Yeah. So it just brings the community into, gives them an on-ramp into the situation.
Yeah. No, I think that looks good.
Yeah. FCB, retirement of facilities. We do not have proposed change. Oh, sorry, we still on the other one.
no, it's just reflecting on when we named the ticket booth after Millie. Right? We named the ticket booth after
It
Millie.
wasn't 3 years.
It wasn't 3 years. We made a misstep there. No harm, no foul. But just for everyone's education at the table, the policy does say that if we were to name it after an individual, that they should be deceased 3 or more years. So something to pay attention to in the future, or we amend it to just say that the individual is deceased and then we don't have to 3-year waiting period.
I
Yeah, I
think
don't know
3
why
years
it's 3
is
years.
the
How about
standard
for a reasonable
with
time?
other districts.
I agree with you, except for the fact that it just happened.
Right.
And we,
So you want to change the policy to follow reality?
what a crazy idea, right? So I don't know, I just bring it up. I don't,
That
I
makes
mean,
sense to me. I don't.
what, that's 3
Why
years?
would you put yourself in a corner for 3 years? If the person is deceased, I think you should have the right to make that decision.
I mean, I'm fine with eliminating the 3 years. I mean, obviously, the intent behind the deceased nature of it is, right, is while someone's alive, their reputation could change and you wouldn't want to have your name on something when, you wouldn't want to ever be stripping away a name because something happened.
It's interesting because this talks about that, and then there's also a policy about memorials
Yeah.
specifically, which is FFA, if you scroll down to policy. Which
That's really what school names.
this is talking about like building
Bill,
as opposed to like a memorial.
I get that.
Okay.
So what do we want to do about, are there any I mean, this is a first reading, so it's for discussion purposes, but do we want to just leave this as is? Do we want to strike the 3 years, just recognizing that we most recently moved on this?
I mean, I don't think striking the 3 years undoes the fact that the event happened before the policy was changed. So I don't see the point in changing the policy.
Well, does 3 years have any meaning even?
Yeah, I
Is that the
I
next?
just think that's the standard I've heard, when reading policy. In other districts, that I've worked at, that was sort of the way it was framed, but I guess it doesn't
Why
It doesn't
3
have
years?
that much bearing.
I guess
But-
Yeah.
They're not gonna get into trouble
Why
3
three?
years after they die.
I think the intent is to make sure there's a period of time, so there's not a knee-jerk reaction to, oh,
Yeah.
somebody passed away, we shouldn't even building up.
Right.
In the emotional state.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes. So like, that's totally fine. We would just need to be prepared to say, thank you so much for the interest. Please come back in 2 years, or you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
we
you-
didn't do that.
Or you make it to Steve's suggestion. for a
Recommended 3
reasonable
years
amount
or
of time.
a recommended reasonable amount of time. Something like that, but then you have to define reasonable, so.
right. I
Sure.
think the 3 years serves the purpose, but
Do you have a concern outside of like it's the standard? Like, is there a reason why you like 3 years? I'm just curious.
The knee-jerk thing.
Yeah, the knee jerk thing, and I also think if you don't name an amount of time, then you're in the position of having to name amount of time when the event happens. And I don't think making the change now undoes the fact that the public wasn't followed.
Oh,
Yes, no,
that
that
wasn't the intent.
can't undo that. It's more thinking to the future.
Yeah.
And to my previous point, we were talking, there's what you do in practice and what you're tied to in policy. Once you're tied to it in policy, you're tied. It could be 3 or more years or a reasonable amount of time. And then it's just, there's just flexibility. If it's 2.5 and you're like, well, it's been a reasonable amount of time, but nope, you gotta wait for 6 months. Your hands are tied.
Sure.
Just allows flexibility.
Like that.
But the 3 or more stays so that it's there, like we think that's reasonable, but
Yeah.
also, I don't know. Circumstance.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, now we're at FCB, we did not have proposed changes.
Retirement of facilities.
So,
Yep.
FCB, retirement of facilities. This is updated with mask and we didn't have any proposed changes.
I don't see that policy being enacted anytime soon.
You know, that's, I was thinking that as reading it, that we are fortunate that we aren't faced with this situation.
True.
Like Boston Public Schools is right now.
Yes.
All right. And then our last policy, FFA memorials. Is a new policy, or we're adopting the language from NASC. If it's possible. But this actually, this was a new policy for us. We didn't have this policy. At all.
That's right.
The NASC has had it since 2016. So we're proposing adopting it.
So this calls to mind, like, there's a couple of memorials at Shaker Lane, like there's one to Curtis Bates and one to Richard Ferry. That would not fall under this policy.
Oh, they're not really memorials.
It wouldn't change.
Yeah, I mean, how do you define?
I think the purpose of this is if something really tragic happens and people want to like bring in big statues and make actual changes to physical plants in some way, even this gives us a guideline of memorials to those in our community are best in awards or scholarships. This gives us a way to redirect that image. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the last section that says any permanent memorials in existence before adoption of this policy can only be removed by a vote of the school committee. So that kind of gives us cover so that we don't have to go through all the schools and look and see if somebody's name is on something.
Right, no,
And that's what I was more referring to. 'Cause
Yeah.
I've seen a bench with Richard Ferry's name on it.
But that's a true.
There's
That's not
so then we have to worry about how do you define a memorial and,
No,
but that last section kind of takes that pressure off.
yeah, what's there is there. It's
Yeah, and there's like that outdoor classroom, I think, that has Curtis Bates' name on it. Like, or it used to anyway.
Yeah, trivia this one.
Yeah.
It's true.
What's that?
It's true.
That's right.
Yeah.
True.
Okay, so looking to add FFA. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
Motion, do we need a motion?
Yeah, we would want to make a motion to accept the first reading of. As, yes, and then as discussed with edits, and then we'll revisit those. edits for a second reading and finalize it.
Okay, so motion to accept the policies discussed with edits discussed for first reading.
Second.
Motion made by Beano, second by Elaine. I was waiting for them all to be, named
you want me
for
to
the
read them all?
record. We went, through them, it's fine. Unless we want to test
Well,
here.
it's not listed in the agenda, so you have to go.
They can put them in the minutes.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, no, they're listed
They're
at
the
the
agenda.
bottom. At
The whole
the
list.
bottom.
The list. Straight.
Oh,
Yeah,
They're there.
they're listed. So we're fine. So motion made by Beano, seconded by Elaine. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Fine, thank you very much, Beano. Appreciate your effort on that.
no, it threw me off. It's on the agenda twice.
Oh,
So
That was a-
I was wondering why we were doing this now instead of the end of the meeting that we're
Because I
usually
didn't want
doing.
to do that.
According to the minutes that was suggested last meeting.
that was hard enough at
Yeah.
8:30 at night.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And like,
No,
it's
I'm
one
really
of
not
the three
reading
things
that.
we're supposed to do.
Right.
And I hate doing it
I
at the end of
know.
the meeting.
So, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
listed on the second posting
Yeah.
of the policies on the
Yeah.
agenda. That's why I was.
All right, we're gonna close that new business number 3 and we're gonna move on to new business number 4. Which is on the agenda as motion to create the superintendent search screening committee.
Right.
Clerk Elaine Santelman and member Shauna Hearn will request a motion to formally create and appoint the superintendent's search screening committee. Take it away.
All right, so Sean and I have been working hard on our recently appointed superintendent search subcommittee. We've been consulting with our search firm consultant, Alicia Mallon from Mass. We've had a couple meetings with her already. And there's a lot of stuff going on in January to get us launched on this process of hiring our next superintendent. So one of the very first things that we needed to do was send out a survey to the community to look for interested staff and residents to support us with screening the candidates for the superintendent search. And so Sean and I met, it's just earlier this week. And we had 50 people apply to do this important work, which,
Wow.
yeah, I mean,
Wonderful. That's fantastic.
and I think the other thing that was so heartwarming is that the people took the time to describe their backgrounds and their talents that they would contribute to the search. So then the challenge became balancing all of those different talents. And I can honestly say we would have benefited from a 50-person committee because they were all amazing. I think every single person would have made a huge contribution, but of course, that's not an efficient size group to work with. So we whittled it down. Our process was to really look at their backgrounds, their experiences, their lenses that they would be doing this work through, and trying to find a good balance of stakeholders, people representing different constituencies. And so we got it down to a list of 19. Yeah, I think it was an odd number. So Steve, could you project the list? I'm sure the people at home would like to be able to see this. So you can see the list. We've got it in 3 different categories because we wanted to make sure we had balanced representation. So we've got some district staff. Thanks, that looks better. Some parents and some other community members. Many of these people are fitting multiple buckets. So they're representing not just the constituency that they're mainly representing, but also have other ties through the community or different schools. So I'll just read off the list from the staff. We have a teacher from every school. So from Shaker Lane, we've got Kelly Hart. Russell Street, we've got Heidi McGregor that we spoke with earlier tonight. She also works at Shaker Lane, so that was a double. We've got Amy Tetro from the middle school, Hillary Bridge from the high school, Catherine Johnson representing special ed. She works at the high school. We've got Beth Steele representing central office and Michelle Kane representing a principal. So you can see we're already a little, that's the longer list, but the parents, we've got Annalise Tabor representing the community, and she was also the chair of Yes for Littleton campaign. So made a lot of community contacts through that initiative. We've got Maria McDonough from Shaker Lane, also Sidhu Dotla from Shaker Lane, Betsy Lamore from the middle school, Kwame T. Adi. We will pronounce that right next time once we meet him. Tasha Clark representing the PTA. And then also other constituencies, other community members. We wanted to represent CPAC, so we've got Rebecca Craven. We wanted to represent the PTA, so we've got Laurel Shaw. A community member, Stacy Damaris, so we'll get to work with Stacy again. And then we wanted somebody from the select board, so we've got Mark Ronbacher joining us. And then Sean and I will also be on the screening committee. So that fills out our slate. And so we'll be notifying these people through email. It'll go out tomorrow morning. So the folks, all 50 people will get an email tomorrow morning and letting them know the status and the next steps. But the other thing that we wanted to share with you is our timeline for the steps coming up. So, even though we had some wonderful people that had offered to be on the screening committee that we just didn't have the capacity to accept everybody, we wanted to highlight that there are a lot of other opportunities coming up for people to provide input and to ask questions. So the first one that's coming up is on January 15th at 6:30 p.m. We're going to have a public forum for the community. So that's going to be in person. And Sean, you just booked the room.
Yeah, it's a multi-purpose room at the Center on Shattuck. So nice. It's a new room. It'll be nice. We'll make sure it's open for everyone to get in.
Yeah, so that's an opportunity. We'll have Alicia Mallon there, who is our consultant running the search. So bring your questions, bring your input. It'll be, if you're a person who likes to express yourself verbally rather than filling out a survey, this is that opportunity. We're also sending out a survey to the community. We're exploring as many ways to blast this out into the community as possible, but it's going to be on the district website tomorrow morning. It'll go out on School Now tomorrow, but this is a survey asking community members what their top priorities are for the district, what experiences they're looking for in the candidates, what skills they want the candidates to have. And the survey asks you to rank your choices. So it's going to give us some really useful data that we will then use to develop our vision for what we're looking for in our next superintendent. And the whole goal with this is to make sure that we are defining what will be our best fit, so that that will guide the process of selecting the candidates. So our screening committee that we just appointed tonight will go through an orientation on January 20th. So that will be an in-person meeting, also in that same room, Sean.
Exactly. Yep.
And so that's basically what's happening in January. We'll start posting the opening for the superintendent early February. But before all that happens, we'll put together our vision. We'll put together a brochure about our community that includes our vision. We will include all of this feedback that we're going to be collecting from the community through January. And I think, I don't want to go, we've got a timeline that takes us through the end of the process. We hope to be able to appoint our next superintendent by mid-April. So Sean, did I miss anything? You want to add on anything?
No, I think that was great. I do want to highlight again that we had a lot of really strong applicants We're very fortunate for that. Elaine and I spend many hours, both individually and then a few hours on Tuesday, once everything closed, to evaluate what made the most sense. And we really tried to, have a broad, set of voices to be heard. I'm really proud of what we put together, and I'm excited to get to work.
Thank you. And there's, I wanted to highlight one more opportunity for stakeholder input, that towards the end of the process, when we've got our semifinalists, you know, we'll have what we call a district day where they come to the district and meet a bunch of different stakeholders. So that will be another opportunity for people to provide feedback. So that date is still to be determined, but you know, really hoping to hear a lot of input from the community that guide the process.
Thank you so much for all the work you all have done. This is
A lot of work.
amazing. I don't want to jump into my head was jumping to questions, but this is just incredible.
Oh,
what they've
thanks.
done. Thank you to all the community members. Like that is such an incredible response.
Yeah.
And the interest in this process. A couple questions. You said tomorrow morning, everyone that asked will be notified.
Yes.
Of who was chosen, and then ways that people who weren't notified could still participate.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it will also be, so I talked with Alex today. I already gave him the information to post on the website so that he can turn that over first thing tomorrow morning. I didn't want to do it before we had the meeting tonight. But you know, I guess our major objective from this point forward is communication.
Yeah. So hopefully a lot of those people will come on the 15th, because
Yes.
that's an opportunity.
Yes.
To have a voice. And then the survey closes on the 23rd. It opens tomorrow, you said?
Yep,
Okay,
it opens tomorrow.
that's great. And then on the school committee side, we meet the applicants April 6th through 10th.
So part of the work of the screening committee is they screen the applicants and they take the process up until the point where they recommend 3 or 4 finalists to be interviewed by the full school committee. So, and at that point, the screening committee's work is done.
Which that is March 23rd. Screening committee presents list of
Yes.
finalists to school committee, but we are getting then the list of all the applicants to review.
No,
No, no.
we get just
the
the
final.
finalist.
We only get the final.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, so we're gonna take the recommended finalist.
yeah,
We're not gonna see otherwise, right?
yes.
That's the
Okay.
way it typically.
That's why we have a highly qualified screening committee.
Yeah.
We're doing that important work.
With 19
So,
Yeah.
yeah, and so the week of the 23rd, we will get the finalists. We review them, like their sort of information qualifications,
Yeah.
et cetera. Perhaps do visits the week of the 30th, depending on if the district allows. But
Yeah,
then-
we are planning on doing that. We'd like, Sean and I were talking about this. We'd like to visit the sending districts of the finalists.
Mhm.
In addition to having the finalists come here to the district. So it's,
Is that you and Sean visiting, or is that open to the whole?
I
school
think
community?
you could come too if you're
Yeah.
interested. Yeah.
Okay. And then the 6th through the 10th, the finalists will come here, at
Yes.
which point we should all be present, because that is really the only chance we have.
Well,
to
so
meet.
they'll visit the district and then be interviewed that night. So it's like a marathon. If you're nodding, Kelly, that's your experience.
It's a long day. Yes.
Yeah. I think it's a stamina test for the next superintendent, right?
8 to about 9:30.
Yeah.
So each night that evening, let's say there's 3 finalists,
Yep.
we would have 3 evenings of interviews, or on April 9th, we interview all of them.
Oh, that would be a lot of interviews.
No, okay, so each evening.
Yeah, I think, well, that's
That's up to you.
that's so far down in the process. I don't think we could say that definitively, but it could be 3 different nights. It could be 2 on one night, 1 on another night. Like we'll have to, and also it's depending on your availability. So
Your
it's
final,
going to be intense
Yeah.
that week, I think.
your final interview will be about 60 minutes. And your interview questions will be comprised from the questions that the screening committee has created and also input from Elaine and Sean in terms of perhaps some areas that you want to explore during that interview. Just some advice, when you get to that final round, 60 minutes is 60 minutes. That's all a candidate gets. You have to be consistent in these situations. And your questions need to be consistent. If you extrapolate it for one candidate, you need to do that for another candidate, because you can be challenged, and you have to make sure that the opportunities were equitable.
Well, and this is why we are so thankful that the committee voted for the full contract with MASC,
I'm thrilled.
because Alicia is walking us through all of that stuff that you just said, Kelly, that, the more into the weeds we get, the more we realize it would be easy to put a foot wrong if we didn't have an expert guiding us.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot of nuances with open meeting law, and so we're towing the line here and following the process so that it's involves a lot of two-way communications, a lot of opportunities in different forums for people to talk with us, and then also a very consistent and equitable approach with candidates.
The only question, Elaine, I have is, when are the reference checks done?
That's not on the timeline. Do you remember we did talk about that in the meeting this morning?
It's after, I believe it's after they get through screening committee, and then.
So all the finalists, yeah.
So they typically should be done prior to the final.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's a good call out though. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, is there, any other questions, any other discussion? Because we will need a
Sure.
motion.
Yeah, I just have a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
So congrats to those that have been recommended, and thank you to all that applied, and job well done. I appreciate the efforts on putting that together. That's no easy task. In looking at this other handout, so one of the things that we're doing in January is approving the online survey, but the online survey is going out tomorrow. So
Yeah, so that's a subcommittee approval, not a full committee approval.
is that a MASC
Yeah,
survey?
I'm glad you brought that up. So we started with the MASC survey, then, so we are a client of, John Guilfoyle Public Relations. So, within our current existing contract, they can support us with the communications piece of this.
Right.
So I had talked with Kelly about, allowing us to be the point person for once with that relationship, because usually Kelly's the one who would be reaching out to the PR firm, but that
Right.
obviously this case
Okay.
can't be. So,
That's fine.
so they went through, gave us some really excellent.
So we've received
feedback.
professional guidance. on
We
the
have
survey.
received
Yes.
professional guidance from two different groups,
Oh, and
and
yes, that
then,
was my question.
and then Sean and I pulled it together.
Good question.
Great.
Are we gonna use School Now to announce the community forum on the January 15th?
Yep. Well, we're using it tomorrow to distribute the survey, but we'll keep informing the,
So that January 15th that's
coming up.
coming up quick.
Yeah, so I asked Alex to put it on the website, but that'll be we need to talk. I've got a question out to the PR firm right now about different ways to message the community.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have a conversation with them tomorrow about it.
Sure.
But that's, the things that we've already thought of were the website, School Now. They had suggested putting it out on, see, we don't have a Facebook
No, we
page
don't.
anymore with the district, but maybe we can put it out on the town's page, yes.
Good thought.
I don't know if there's any other community Facebook pages we want to get it out on. If so, how would we do that?
I think as long as we use School Now, which is the sort of the standard mass communication tool, it ought to hit the mom's
Should be good.
Facebook page, and the rest will take care of itself.
Okay. And also was wondering if, so the school district has School Now, does the town have a similar kind of platform that they use message the
No,
town?
Not
Yes?
that I'm aware
Not
of.
that they, not.
Oh,
that
Judy, what are you? She was nodding yes,
they-
so.
Do they, what are they,
Yeah.
what do they use?
On the town's website, you can sign up for our alert system and you can get, anytime you put anything out on news and announcements, it gets emailed to push to people.
Yeah, I get a notice about the
Oh, okay.
select board meeting and with their agenda.
Okay, so who would we
Never told us.
contact to get that?
Feedback across at IT.
Probably Tony Souza, who's the town assistant administrator.
Tony?
I would start there, that their selectman's office. Or Jim
Is
Duggan.
it a listserv?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so they could probably push a message out.
Well, fast.
Yeah.
Well, it works, so, okay.
Yeah,
So it's a listserv.
it's a listserv, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like the notices for the select board meeting and it's,
And they put out the news, and they put out the newsletter they.
yeah.
And so on the district website, there's the school committee department page. So, we can post things on there, but that's a little bit buried. And would you feel
We
like
can-
putting it on the homepage?
We can create an area on the homepage.
Yeah.
To place it, because it should be on the homepage.
Yeah.
People shouldn't have to look for that, so.
So I'll email Alex tomorrow and give him some stuff to put on the homepage and then you can
Perfect.
work that out.
Yeah, we'll work with Julie and create a link on the homepage.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elena and I discussed, this kind of goes to the next motion we're gonna have after this, but we're just gonna try and hammer every piece of it, like every way we can. Be as transparent as possible. We want to make sure everyone knows what's going on every time something happens.
Elaine, we could use a header like we did with the Shaker Lane School project. So
Could
as
you
soon as
say what?
A header, so as soon as you open up the homepage of the website, at the very top of it.
Yeah.
It will be there.
Yeah.
So
That would be
you
great,
can't miss it with its at the top,
especially if it's moving.
yes.
So my next question is there any, do you either of you feel that we could, move the opening of the posting earlier in this agenda? I know that there are timeline, I know that there are things that need to be done in the brochure and all that stuff, but if it's possible to, because what I'm looking at here is, okay, based upon this timeline, it's the middle of April when the school, when we might have might have selected a superintendent, and we still have to negotiate the contract with that person. If we ran into any delays, like all of a sudden the end of the school year is here and that's a busy time of year. Like if there was any way to try to get our decision a couple of weeks earlier, I think that would be beneficial.
We can go back to Alicia and talk to her. I'm not sure that there will be, but we can talk to her. Certainly.
Yeah,
That's a fair
I mean, if we could open it a week earlier and then close it after 3 weeks, not 4 weeks.
My understanding is that a lot of what we're going to be doing, right, with the community survey and so on is going to inform how we're marketing this position to some degree. Is that accurate?
Yep.
And so we're going to need the full picture before we can move forward with the brochure and so on. That's just my understanding, but I'm definitely worth asking.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can certainly try to squeeze the timeline as much as possible, but what I would not want to squeeze is this time period in January where we're collecting feedback from the community and offering them multiple different opportunities to speak with us. Like that's probably, I think, one of the most critical parts of the process. So
And then what are you gonna do with that feedback? You're gonna then share it with the screening committee?
yeah, so
Exactly.
So that.
Yeah, we
those
get all
things
of
could
that
happen
feedback.
Simultaneously, because the screening committee is not discussing the applications until March. So you literally have from now until March 4th to gather that data and then give it to them.
well, no, all of that input from the community is what's used to develop our vision. And then meanwhile, the other thing that we're doing concurrently is providing Alicia from MASC with information about our community, about basically introducing ourselves to the applicants. So that will include the vision, but also, demographics of the town, photos of the schools, stuff about MSBA, we'll put together this brochure. Also, Alicia will help us with developing an application form that's specific to this superintendent search that the candidates have to use. So all of that is happening concurrently while we're talking with the community. And all of that is put together before the posting goes out. So
I think what they're saying is they're gonna take what they get off the survey to write that.
Let me ask you a question, Justin. I think the most I could possibly see moving this up is a week, and I'm not gonna promise that. Do you think a week makes it that much of a difference that it's worth us squeezing?
No, but what I'm suggesting is like, it seems like we're trying to reinvent the wheel here. So, you know, lots of districts have looked for superintendent before and they introduce themselves. So we're gonna take what they've done and we're gonna plug Littleton in and plug the demographics in and plug everything.
it's that cookie cutter.
I just caution us against, you know, trying to do something like we've hired MASC, sorry. Getting lost in my alphabet soup here. For their professional guidance, like, let's go. Like,
Yep, that's
You
what we're
know,
doing.
so all I'm suggesting is that there's a lot of work to be done. And if we hit and the reality is oftentimes you publish a timeline and you finish after the timeline. So my concern here was just, you know, when we met with MASC folks, they were like, oh, you could have your superintendent by the end of February. And-
Say mid-March when we met with
And
her.
now we're
Yeah.
the middle of April, and when it gets, all of a sudden it's May 1st, then
I'm not concerned because I think, you know, we're gonna get some good candidates. We're a desirable community. What I don't want to do is rush the process so that we cut corners and don't do a, you know, this is a very important process. We're only going to be doing this. Hopefully our next candidate stays as long as Kelly has stayed. So, you know, this is really important to get it right. And I don't think cutting corners and rushing through the process to try to finish a few weeks earlier is going to benefit us.
Let me just walk you through, like, just talk it out, right? So if like, we're not gonna really be able to touch anything until next week, it's our the end of Thursday, right?
Sure.
So let's say in a perfect world, I'm not gonna promise this. Perfect world, Lane and I were able to put things together for sure next week. That's that week. Then the following week, there's Martin Luther King Day. Then you play out that week, let's say Alicia, in a perfect world, say we put something together. For release, you'll be able to put it out as the 26th, which is why I'm saying you're only gaining 1 week. Is that reasonable?
Well, and the brochure also includes the vision.
No, I'm not saying we should
Right.
do it. I'm just saying the
Yeah.
absolute soonest we can live it up is 1 week. So I don't know if it's worth it for 1 week.
So the
Well,
ad
you
will
know,
be posted February 2nd.
Yeah, as opposed to the 26th.
yeah, so you get it out on the 26th, you leave it open for 3 weeks, so now all of a sudden, applications are done by the 13th of February. And then when the applications close, what's gonna happen is the screening committee would be viewing all of the applications that come in. They'd have a screening tool that would likely be designed and created by all this information that you've collected from the community members. And then they would, rank them, and then they would be like, okay, let's discuss our top 12 and let's invite the top 8 in for interviews. And then they whittle it down to 3 or 4, and then we have an opportunity to go to the district, and then they come here, and then.
Right, but they're not reviewing the week of February break. None of the people on this list.
Right, I mean, the
Possible.
application closes after February break anyway.
No, but you're saying if it closes on the 13th, we're still losing a week there. In this proposal, they just have the applications coming in February break. You know what I mean? Because then you're gonna push back a week. Again, we're just a week ahead.
Yeah. Like I
What is-
appreciate it. I think
what
we should
is
always
the-
try and push the schedule. I just don't know if we're gaining a lot.
Yeah, what is the concern about ending the process mid-April?
Well, my concern is essentially that we want to try to shrink this timeline down and get the position filled, because we would ideally like some opportunity for the new superintendent to spend time in the district before school gets out. We've got to also, by chance, recognize that maybe the first superintendent that we choose decides not to choose us because there's another offer on the table that we can't negotiate it. And I don't, Kelly gave us all this advance notice. And this is like, we might just barely squeak this in.
I don't know, I think the timeline is pretty straightforward and I don't think it's a squeak. I think there's time for all of the steps to be carried out fully. And I really, you know, the person that we're gonna hire is not just out there unemployed, most likely. Like, they're not gonna be suddenly just coming in
Exactly.
June and
no.
wanting to
Exactly.
talk to Chad O'Kelly.
That's my point. So
Yeah.
like when this person, you know, is notified mid-April and we finally negotiated, we put it to bed, now all of a sudden they've only got 4 weeks left of their school year left and they've got to negotiate time away from their district to spend time with us.
Well, their contract is most likely ending June 30th, so it's, I mean, that's a typical time to transition. It's,
Unless they have a.
They might have like notification.
They have a
clauses in their
notification,
contract.
if they have a, they do
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
notification clause.
yeah,
But it
I
varies.
think I've shared my point
Yeah.
and I understand that we're doing the best we possibly can. I would put an emphasis on trying to get as much of this streamlined as
Yeah.
possible. We hired professional help. We've hired professional help. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Yes, we want to make it customized and unique and share how great we are, but
are there specific questions that you'd like us to bring back to Alicia to poke at some of your concerns?
specific question.
Yeah, like you, with the concerns that you've been raising, are there certain, you know?
Or like, I guess it would, my thought process would be, which district did you most recently work with? Share the examples that you did, where you deemed it a success. Now let's make them Littleton oriented and, you know, you're like, oh, they're gonna need to create this customized application. I'm not sure that they already have, you know,
Right, I don't think
The
you're
previous
writing it
method.
from scratch. I think they're taking one, like you said, that a template that's been successful in the
Right,
past.
right, so
and
all this
plugging in the
information
things that make
is
it
already done.
Littleton.
Yeah.
Right.
You're looking to pressure test the schedule, I respect that.
Yeah.
Right.
And we can do that.
And I think
I'm not
there's
promising that.
value in trying to move
I
this
completely agree.
forward.
I just don't want to promise things now that we can't do, but let's pressure test. If we can
Yeah.
move it forward, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But again, let's see what Alicia says is reasonable and possible, and we'll get back to you, sure. I think it's a very reasonable ask to see what we're able to do.
Yeah, and I think that the two areas to do it are to see if we can get the multiple areas are, can we get the application out there a week earlier?
Mhm.
Can we do 3 weeks of posting versus 4?
Do you think that, I guess, and I think it was a good point by Beano. My only comment is, do we gain that much by having a shorter window, right? Because are we realistically going to meet as a screening committee to review stuff before February break? Because we're not going to end up meeting during February break.
You'll have, I mean, it's hard to come up with the applicants, number of applicants, but I would venture to guess. On the low end, you would have 20.
Sure.
Or more, but if I go with the lowest number, so 20 applications takes some time to go through. But you're gonna have to do a pretty thorough analysis with those applications. And I appreciate what you're saying, Justin, too. Like to get out there and get a jump on this as well. And maybe there is something that the screening committee can do with some of the previous main pamphlets that they've created. But you want to make sure you do the process right. I think that's the key here. In terms of advertising, and maybe MASC saw this, LinkedIn is a pretty good site to use as well. And you may not just have it, this might be a little tricky, but superintendent begins tenure, that's really not a term that should be used. Superintendent begins position, superintendent start date. It's really not a tenure.
Okay.
And Alicia might also, I think it might be worth asking, with an April 13th to 17th sort of appointment, does that give us enough time to negotiate and or perhaps have to go to like, I'd love her thoughts on that. I mean, clearly she gave you this timeline and so she thinks that's okay, but like for other districts, did they have this and weren't able to negotiate and had to go to the next candidate and like what are the repercussions?
Okay, so your question is, about negotiating a contract, like,
Yeah, from her perspective and experience, if she's worked with districts who have offered a superintendent in mid-April and then it didn't work out. Like what's the spiraling effect after that? Are we in danger with this?
and so if it doesn't work out for multiple reasons or specifically with negotiating a contract? Or
Yeah,
either?
whatever the reason is. And then we have to go down the line, like, has she experienced
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Is it usually resolved within a week? Is it like, well, I've seen this happen and go till the end of May and you risk that? And
Yeah.
I think.
I would suggest that you work with MASC and get a sample contract created. And you can make revisions to that contract, but at least that's going to speed up the process. Because typically after you interview 3 or 4 candidates, your decision needs to be made rather quickly. You know, so it depends on if you interview one night or 2 nights. By the end of that second night, you need to deliberate in public session
Right.
and make a decision. And then you would phone that candidate up and offer the position pending contract negotiation.
Well, in this schedule, we have a meeting on the 9th, right? So that's when it would happen
Yeah, and we might have to have a special meeting or another meeting.
if we move it up.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is I wouldn't recommend that you elongate that process out because that time of year, I mean, you may have 3 candidates that have 2 offers.
Yeah.
No, I like that idea of being ready to go with the contract
So-
to propose.
That, I didn't say it, but I was thinking was implied, is like, there are other districts looking for, not every district, but there are other districts looking for superintendents, and for every week that we end up that we push it, the talent pool gets hired away someplace else. And again, we had all this notice, and then it's like, I'll refrain from using squeak it in, but we're finishing up just before the year ends. The other thing I'll note here is I think we're basically allowing the screening committee 4 weeks from the date of application close to make recommendations to us. And I think that that's potentially too much time.
That would be fair. We can evaluate that,
Like,
but
and maybe 2 weeks is, so Shauna, what I was doing was picking a week up here, picking a week up here,
yeah,
picking a week up
you're
here.
trying to whittle.
So basically, I shortened it by about a month by looking at 4 different areas where you could shorten it a week.
Yeah, I think we ask about each, and we see where we can get, and we need to somewhere along the way. I think that's, I respect your side.
And then I guess my other question was, so let's say this screening committee takes 3 weeks to rank the applicants, and then they invite people in for interviews, and then they internally decide, and then they choose, let's just say they've chosen 3 finalists. At that point in time, just so I understand this correctly, we would say, congratulations, you're one of the 3 finalists. The school committee would like to come to your district. That would give us an opportunity. Are we saying only us? Or would there be other members that would be invited as well to visit the district?
Oh, I think at that point when we're talking about finalists, it's school committee members.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand. So we would say, okay, it's our desire to visit them, so we would, during hopefully just a 1 week period, possibly make 3 visitations. And then the following week, they would come in and they would be not interviewed by us, they would be interviewed by
They would meet with stakeholder groups.
stakeholder groups. So that's an opportunity for
Schmoozing.
community input. And then shortly thereafter, well, we could be a part of that, and we possibly should be a part of that, but it's not just with us, because the just with us is the last step, which you could do 3 1-hour sessions with a deliberation vote at the end, or you could do, 2 interviews on Wednesday night and then an interview on Thursday night, and then we deliberate and make a final decision on Thursday night.
No, but one candidate is coming during the day on Wednesday, and one is coming during the day. Like, why would they both come on a Wednesday night? They're coming on different days.
Well, that's my question is, are they going
For
to,
visits. Yes.
yeah, are they going to visit with us all day long, and then we're gonna interview them at night?
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, why would you have them come back and the next day?
Just so that you get the applicants back to back to back for their final interview,
Oh.
so that you don't have to worry about, you know, what did this person say? And it's just like, you get all of it at once.
I can appreciate that. I think the consideration is that if you assume somebody's candidates are on multiple positions at the same time, and you can come back for 2 appointments, and maybe they're doing 2 appointments somewhere else, it just becomes cumbersome when you take all those days off.
Yeah.
And they're more willing, or it's more friendly to them to be able to do all of that.
So the school committee responsibility would be to participate in the daytime activity as optional.
Right.
Optional.
And then the evening, of course, would be required because that's the interview. Okay.
Exactly. The way it was told to me is that, from Alicia, is that we would record those interviews, all 3 on 3 different nights, but we wouldn't release them to the public until after all 3 were done. Because that way the subsequent interviewees wouldn't see what was asked.
Right.
So that would be the way you control for that. And then likely either on a 4th night or at the end of the 3rd night, you would deliberate. And that would be,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So
and that would be live because
those are open meetings though, correct?
absolutely, but in person and recorded.
With no public record.
I'm just wondering. It depends on the process, but sometimes what you do is you have the consultant at those meetings and they do summary notes for the school committee.
Sure.
And I'm just not sure whether doing the interview on the same day that they spend the whole day in the district is the best way to do it. You want this candidate, or your candidates more correctly, to be focused on the interview with you. This is their shot. They have 60 minutes to sell themselves. That's a lot of time. And you certainly don't want them coming in dead tired during their final interview, because you want to see what they're going to be like without, running through the mill.
Yeah.
So I would really kind of recommend that you revisit that. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it also depends on where they're coming from. Like if they're coming in from a date, they're gonna want to blend it in one day. But if they're,
If they
you know,
want
if they're
the
local.
job, they're going to take 2 days.
But I
Yeah.
also think we don't need to decide this right now.
And we
No,
could
yeah,
also, flip flop, it, like have somebody spend the long day in the district, come back the next night and interview, and then flip flop with another candidate. So, to your point, trying to get this done in as condensed amount of time as possible. So, but yeah, these are all, we're getting so far down into the process that we're getting into things we don't know yet.
All right, well, I just bring them up because
Yeah.
again, we only meet so often, so.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it seems far away, but working full-time is my schedule is booked even that week. So the earlier notice, at least to the
Oh, yeah,
committee as
absolutely.
possible. Especially if we're talking about huge chunks of time during
Yeah.
working hours. It feels far away, but if we can know pretty
Yeah.
soon.
And if you
I mean, like we were saying, I don't think that we all need to be with the candidates during the day, those district days. It would be those meetings at night, like that might be a tough night if you're traveling, to do those.
Well, no, I'll make sure I'm not traveling, but even
Yeah.
during, I mean, it's beneficial to be there if possible.
Yeah.
So, but just advance heads up.
Yep, oh, absolutely.
I mean, if you have one school committee member there, I mean, at each evening or 2.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, you're deliberating the information that you all have. But I don't think all 5 of you need to be there unless you really want to. If you're gonna overlap candidates, make sure you have a plan to move them in and out without that meeting.
Okay.
Just
That's always awkward.
protocols.
Okay, so Justin, I'll say we'll pressure test this before we come back next time we meet. And we'll be in communication with all of you as we can. As we get the profits.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Elaine and John. I mean, this is a heavy lift.
Yeah, so we need a motion to formally create and appoint the superintendent search screening committee.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Justin, seconded by Janine. All those in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. And number 5, new business, reads the motion to create a new communication subcommittee. Member Sean Hearn will request a motion to formally create a new communication subcommittee.
Yeah, so the idea basically is that we would want a more united vision going forward and where we want to communicate. So I think we've all talked through, maybe social media has changed a little bit. What's the best way to get out to people? We literally had the conversation, 30 minutes ago about what's the best way to do this. So I think it's worth having a couple of university school committee and superintendent on a subcommittee to be able to work through this and have a plan that's the best way as things come up to communicate things to the community. Discussion.
I'm in agreement. Sean and I discussed this, briefly. I expressed some interest in joining him on this. This communication subcommittee, and again, as previously noted in earlier this evening, that the creation of this doesn't have any communication authority.
Correct.
It's really just to talk with the district about what do we want to use? Do we want to use Facebook as a communication platform going forward? How do we evaluate the ways in which we communicate so that when these things come up, we make sure all of our bases are covered. So
You'll be hitting the ground running.
Would the subcommittee bring to the school committee like suggestions, or is this more operational that is then just discussed with the school?
I mean, if there was, we could certainly report back on the topics covered if we felt, or not we, but like if
Whoever,
I'm already suggesting that. But if this subcommittee felt like, oh, let's get the whole school committee support on this really important decision we're making, I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. But it's just to sort of move the conversation along as to how the district wishes to communicate with the public in the future. Recognizing there's going to be superintendent change, technology is always changing, and
So the goal and the task being just to sort of do like an assessment of current forms and methods of communication and best practices and suggestions forward. Not content of communication, you're just saying methodology.
right.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the school committee may want to become more active in messaging to the community. So, but you've already started to.
Yeah, Sean's got podcast and a Substack and try. What else am I missing? That's it?
Yeah. Try.
Yeah.
In the
no,
library?
Yeah, right. Doing it all.
Oh, yeah, and your
Virtual office hours.
the virtual
Yeah,
office.
virtual
I was gonna say visiting hours. That's not quite it. Yeah, the virtual office hours.
So any other discussion on this? Does anybody have
No, I think it's a great idea.
Does anybody have an expressed interest in, I assume Sean would participate, I shared that I would be interested as well, but does anybody, can't have three, but does anybody have a particular interest in working with Sean and the district on this?
Yeah.
Heck,
I
yeah.
love
An
this
expressed
too.
interest in the two of you working.
For closed discussion, is there a motion to create a communications subcommittee with members Sean Ahern and Justin McCarthy?
So moved.
And
Yeah.
whoever's sitting,
Yeah.
sitting superintendent. Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yeah, I
moved.
think it was implied that that the subcommittee would work with the district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second. I heard Janine make the motion twice, so I'll second that.
All right, so moved by Janine, seconded by Elaine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Perfect.
Thank you all.
Thank
This is,
you.
uh,
This is important work.
Wraps up new business for the evening as we approach 9:45. Is there a second opportunity for interested citizens?
There's nobody online.
Look at all this fun stuff they missed tonight.
There's
All right, well,
policy.
They were there.
Process.
There's no hands raised online.
all right, so we'll close the second citizens and we're gonna roll through subcommittee reports. PMBC.
Yep, so some relatively big news. I passed out some information to the committee. We decided the CMF risk subcommittee met and interviewed the final 4 candidates in mid-December and ultimately decided on Gilbane. And then after that, the full Shaker Lane committee voted to approve that decision. It was our belief that given that Gilbane had just gone through building the new school in Groton, that with Studio G, who is our partner and our architect, and that they were ahead of schedule. So the school, very well. That we thought that was Florence Roach Elementary School. That was a great reason to go with them. They also had a very good communication plan, and to kind of bring home what I've been trying to say, last few meetings, right? I just want to make sure that community just gave us $98 million. They're doing everything possible to communicate with stakeholders, abutters, everyone involved. So that was really important as well. And like Kelly highlighted, we have a former graduate of Bolton Public Schools, Shannon Sturts, who works for the company. And also, I know Millie McGovern was brought up earlier in the meeting. Millie's granddaughter also works for the company. And then as well, the manager of engineering also lives in town and then just gets the Shaker Lane. So I just think if you want to talk about accountability, it feels like that's something hard to do. That's my piece for the data.
Thank you for that work.
Sorry.
That was brilliant.
What is this geothermal analysis that's already in?
Yeah, so they were running an analysis. I don't know in front of the analysis data.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But in general, they were trying to figure out the best location to put the geothermal.
Okay.
And the most efficient timeline. So I know there were different proposals across the four firms. We're putting in different locations and doing in different parts of the timeline. So this is their version of doing placement and timing.
Okay.
I can dig into any further questions too, if there's any ones I can follow up with.
I do remember the discussion about the ledge and the geothermal so it's nice to see this. It feels like that conversation is coming around.
Definitely. And I will say that they have worked with the appropriate agencies to get the grants that we need to do to get that through. It is important, especially considering how much that's changing in month to month every year.
Cool.
Just so clear, like this ledge removal expertise section that's in here, this is not the Shaker Lane site, right? This is nothing to do with the Shaker Lane project. This is just like
This is just saying that they
Yeah.
have the tools to do it, if I understand.
Yeah, because it doesn't.
Correct. No, that's not the site. That image is not the site.
And I'm wondering if this geothermal analysis is even,
I think they're just saying they have expertise in it.
I think it's an example of what they would do. I don't think it has anything related to our project.
completely accurate.
Okay.
I think it's like a general brochure and then also giving us what's seen, whatever work with.
Are these even the real people from?
They are absolutely.
All right.
That's the point. Yeah. That's why you shared it, right?
Yeah.
I like to see.
That's Taylor right
All
there.
right, all right.
Yeah. Proud
This-
type.
Is this actually
That was
happening?
good.
Yeah. All right,
It's all illusion.
great. All set with PMBC?
Yes, thank you.
Budget subcommittee, Janine, myself, Steve Mark, and Superintendent Clenchey had we have a 2-hour meeting yesterday.
Yeah, set down.
2-hour budget subcommittee meeting. We had, as the school committee is aware, I believe you're aware, bringing up the speed. So we had initially submitted our budget to the town, per their timelines, based upon what we believe the recommended appropriated number would be, and then the town gathered the budgets from all of the departments and looked at revenues and expenses and realized that they didn't have a balanced budget. They went back to all the departments and said, we need everybody to sort of lean in on this, and they had tasked us with coming back with a number that was $600,000 less than the initial proposed figure. So we put our heads together yesterday and we're able to come up with an appropriated budget that meets that goal. We're accomplishing that, and we'll present it in great detail. If not the next meeting, the meeting after that. By looking at some of the various ways, and we're spending some money, we're potential cost savings, we're in all honesty dipping into some reserves and savings. And some of our revolving fund usage, which works for fiscal year 2027, but certainly isn't a solution for long-term planning. in actuality, the situation only gets worse because as we grow the budget and we've used savings to pay for some of that. When the savings are no longer there, we now have a larger budget to deal with fiscal year 28, 29. So the good news is that we believe we have a budget that won't have any operational impact for the district. For fiscal year 27, we'll still be able to deliver the same programs and services and high quality education and all that really good stuff, but it's starting to look a little thin in terms of our ability to continue to grow the budget where we need to. Now, that's all subject to change based upon economic developments within town. But we were able to get our job done, and I believe the rest of the departments in town were able to get their job done, and as a town, we're all moving forward. So thank you to Steve and Kelly and Janine. And we will, like I said, we'll present that information in greater detail to the school committee and ask for your approval at the March meeting of the budget. And then the full budget will go to the town in May. But we also have a meeting with the select board and the finance committee.
February 1st.
February 1st.
It's a Saturday.
Yeah, to present. It's a Saturday morning in February, super Saturday, to present our budget detail and have them ask all, the opportunity to ask all the questions.
No, it's
that they
February
need to.
1st.
So lots of work has been done there. Any questions?
I appreciate your work. That's hard.
I think the policy subcommittee is all set since we touched on that earlier in the meeting. Great. And maybe perhaps the Shaker Lane Building Committee is all set as well. Or
Yeah, I'm also.
we kind of covered that.
Definitely.
If there's any other new business or old business before the school committee?
I have a subcommittee question. If we are working to set up subcommittee meetings in the future, can we do that by email? Like, could I email Alex, including Beanle? And I'm not getting into trouble with any open meeting laws by doing that to set up subcommittee meetings, right?
That is correct.
Correct.
Okay,
You
good,
can email another school committee member for the purpose of arranging a meeting.
excellent.
Or
Just-
include them on an email
Yeah.
and with the central office, sure.
I just checked. I don't think I have anything on my calendar and I want to see if we can set up.
We have
I-
them all scheduled.
I think we do, and I asked Alex and he didn't know which ones
Okay.
were, so let's, we'll do that offline and on email, because now we can. Thank you, I'm just double checking.
Everybody else set with everything else tonight?
Mhm.
Okay, our next school committee meeting is January 22nd, 2026, 7 o'clock, Greater Police Station. Get lots of updates on the
Mhm.
superintendent search committee. Perhaps bring back the budgetary information. Anyways, there should be a jam-packed agenda. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Motion made by Sean,
Second.
seconded by Bino. All those in favor to keep us saying aye.
Aye.
We have officially adjourned at 9:57. What are you putting?